All right. What's up, everyone? What's up, Rose? What's up? What's up? What's up? Great to see everyone here. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Thank you. What's up, Magesh? What's up, Dakapo? What's up, Wira? How is everyone doing? Let's go. I'm late again. Beefy Beats, the one and only legend. Just because you said that every time, and I see you in the YouTube comments, of course, as well. I remember you so well. Come on. Love to see it. Let's go, Dean. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, Christian. Good day, MMT, money making team. Let's go. Love to see it. Why don't you give out free mentorships for subscribers to follow who actually put effort? Well, there's two things for that. I do like that approach. That, yeah, if you can truly put in effort, but like, yeah, meh. There's two perspectives from which I see it. There, you can put in effort and great effort by taking notes, etc., and of the A to Z guide, and then I might give you a shot in the future. Who knows? But there's also a perspective from if you truly put in the effort, then you don't even need the mentorship itself, because you can already get profitable from the A to Z guide itself. So if you don't put in the effort, then why would you even need my mentorship in the first place, right? So, but maybe it's something we do in the future for sure. Might be interesting. What's up, Ashwani? What's up? What's up? What's up? Hello from Morocco. Love to see it. Drop the like, folks. Our hustler, the one and only legend. Let's go. Everything here is for earning, not open charity. That's also true, right? I put a lot of time in my mentorship, so I would love to get something in return, right? Otherwise, I would be doing charity for forever. Like, it's an unfortunate truth, but yeah, I also need money, right? It's the unfortunate truth. What's up, Tori? We all here once again. MMT, let's go, MMT family. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I've downloaded all your A to Z guide videos, feeling like I know everything. Let's go. Love to see it. Love it, love it, love it. Hello from Egypt again. Love it. Let's go. Great to see everyone here. Great to see. A to Z is 2022 mentorship, right? No, it's not 2022 mentorship, my friend. Far from it. If you're comparing the ICT mentorship to the A to Z guide, then it's far from it, my friend. It's not even close. What's up? What's up? How is everyone doing? All right, great to see. So, first off, the plan is to first off go over the weekly forecast from Holland. Quinten, how are you doing, my friend? My fellow Holland guy. So first off, we go over the A to Z guide. Sorry, the A to Z guide. I'm a bit flabbergasted now. We go over the weekly forecast, and then afterwards we go over questions. What's up, Daniel? I remember you. I remember you, Daniel Diaz. We actually had a call, right? We had a call. Yeah, you were in the mentorship. I remember for sure. Love to see it. How are you doing? So we go over the weekly forecast, then we go over questions again. And then we go over everything you need. So A to Z guide is much better than 2020 mentorship. I wouldn't say necessarily better. I would never. It's always a polarizing thing, right? To say you are better or one thing is better than the other. I think the 2022 mentorship is a perfect foundation, but if that doesn't make sense, then the A to Z guide is there to fill up all the knowledge that you might need. If that makes sense, but not one is better than the other. I don't believe the 2022 mentorship is better than my A to Z guide. I don't believe that the A to Z guide is better than the 2022 mentorship. That makes sense. I'm doing great. Thank you, Quinten. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Where you come from? I'm from the Netherlands as well. From Holland, Amsterdam. Bro, Arya, I'm looking your episode continue. It's very helpful content. I think everything takes serious study, testing on chart, give time. I think no need to mentorship because everything is, yeah, exactly. Everything, if you truly want to make it work, the A to Z guide, it can make it work. No worries at all. No worries at all. What's up, Josh? Love to see it. Love to see it. I'm trading for 3 years, Quinten. 3 years. All right, let's get into the weekly forecast. So, Adam, you actually made a very great point, Adam Trading, right there. We have a fair value gap as well on the weekly. So the obvious draw on liquidity right now for the coming week on the dollar is we have a clear weekly fair value gap right there. Now, what does this mean? From a weekly standpoint, it is very interesting because we also have that overlapping low, right? And if you remember the video actually that we did on the A to Z guide this week, then right there, if price wants to continue lower, this is a crucial fair value gap right there. If we do continue lower, I would not expect a big retracement into that order block as well. I would want to see this low and that fair value gap hold as resistance. You can see it. And then we push lower immediately. Now, obviously, since we have a weekly fair value gap there, if we do drop down lower at the start of the week, so we have something like this, then that weekly fair value gap is a nice draw on liquidity that we can trade into. So that is lovely. Lovely to see. All right, nice. I got a question, Aryo, why don't you make practical examples in the AUDUSD replay button? I believe I do make practical examples, and I believe everything is in a step-by-step guide and step-by-step manner. And I believe if you are here often in the weekly forecast, you can know that most of the examples that I use inside the AUDUSD guide, they are either taken trades by me live, or I called them out beforehand in the weekly forecast. And the replay button is not something you will learn more from. If you, the way I approach learning, and I've always approached learning, and I would advise anyone to do, is you first go hindsight backtesting, so only in hindsight, and then you apply it in forward testing, so a live condition. No backtesting, no replay button, because a replay button, in my opinion, is building unhealthy habits. That is very important to understand. That is how I view it, of course. I don't believe anyone got profitable off just backtesting and using the replay button. I think that's absolute BS. You need to forward test. So that's how I view it. Got you, my brother. No worries. Great question, by the way. It's a great question. All right, so we have that drawn liquidity. And from there, again, from a weekly basis right there, we could continue lower. If we disrespect that fair value gap, it is very important to understand that we might be continuing higher. There's no reason for price to have a big retracement like this and then continue lower. With disrespecting, I mean closing inside the fair value gap, etc. That is very important for this coming week. This weekly fair value gap will tell us a lot on where the dollar likely wants to head towards in the coming weeks. If this gets disrespected, then we might be in for new highs as well. That is something to keep in mind, right? So it tells us a lot. On ES, if we move to ES right now this was a beautiful price action, because now, again, what do we see? We have a weekly fair value gap, and that on its own is already a drawn liquidity. That on its own is already a drawn liquidity. So how can we deliver into that weekly fair value gap? Well, you would now look at premium arrays. For example, this 4-hour order block right there. You would look at new premium arrays so we can trade into that weekly fair value gap as well on the 1 hour. We actually had pretty nice, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but we had all right price action, I would say. We have a clear 1 hour order block right there as well with an overlapping fair value gap. Looks very nice to potentially aim for that weekly fair value gap right there as well. Looks very nice. I do quite like it. Then on DAX, what are we seeing? DAX, look at this price action. Look at this. This is what you want to avoid generally, especially if you're a trend trader. So in the coming week in the AUDUSD guide, we will talk about turtle. Oh no, that's the next week. I'm sorry. We are going to talk about news and conditions. And then the week after, we are going to talk about sequence short conditions and turtle soups and trading turtle soups in sequence short conditions and in trending conditions. Now, this right here is typical. It's not that nice price action. I just don't like it. And the reason I don't like it is because, first off, we are not coming into that fair value gap there. And there's no new fair value gaps to work with. So it's just a wiki price action, right? I don't like that as well. So we can still aim for the highs, but who knows? I just don't like it. Nasdaq. All right, Nasdaq right here. Same premise as on ES. We have a clear weekly drawn liquidity right there in the form of that weekly fair value gap with an overlapping order block as well. Let me remove some noise right there. We have a nice order block there as well. That is a nice already established draw on liquidity. Again, it's the same premise as on the dollar right there. If we are coming into that, are we rejecting higher? Are we not rejecting higher? That is all told by your float, by your lot, by your structure, etc. If we see a clear rejection higher right there, then obviously, and we get, again, that ST model that we talked about. So we get something like this. Then we could aim for those highs. If that doesn't happen and we continually just keep on going lower, and the fair value gaps will tell you a lot in this case. If the fair value gaps are still bearish, so there's just bearish fair value gaps, then you will likely not see higher prices, right? If we get bullish fair value gaps, then we get potentially higher prices. So you can already tell the fair value gaps again are telling you a story right there. For example, right here, can you see the significance of this bearish fair value gap and that small bullish fair value gap? Obviously, we are still bearish there. So that will tell you a lot. So the coming week, beginning of the week, I would expect lower prices here coming into that weekly fair value gap. And from there, I would like to react and see what it wants to potentially do. YM. All right. The Dow right here. The Dow actually had a huge move higher, which was pretty nice to see. What was Monday? Monday was this, right? Yeah. Right. That is what we touched on. We took that draw on liquidity. So right here, it is essential to understand as well that we now had, and this is actually an email I sent out. What was it? This week or the past week, where we have consolidation, expansion, consolidation. Price moves from consolidation, expansion to consolidation. Generally, that consolidation, expansion, consolidation, that is three phases. That three phases that create one fair value gap. Because if now the next candle, next weekly candle closes, then you have a weekly fair value gap to work with. So next week, we are potentially creating a weekly fair value gap. That means that this week, the upcoming week, that third candle is very unpredictable. As in, you already had your expansion. And if you've been here for a longer time on the forecast, you know, I always tell people, you want to ride the expansion, but once the expansion has already happened, like this, you want to wait for a retracement to get into the new expansion. So that is very important. That is what you want to wait for. That is crucial. It's very crucial. So just understand that this next weekly candle is not the highest probability weekly candle. That was this last candle. So the next draw on liquidity, what could be is we have a very small fair value gap right there, a daily fair value gap. And then we have a bigger fair value gap right there. Now, in this case, what you'll see price do is a lot of times what happens is it will retrace back towards that high, the high it took out. And from there, like we talked about in the USDCAD as well, from there, if it wants to continue higher, it will continue higher off of there, the overlapping PD array, and then continue higher. If it doesn't do that and disrespects everything here with a huge retracement, I would look at those equal lows right there to target. So that is very important. That is how I would view my bias going into the week. All right, Australian dollar, US dollar. Now, last week we touched on potentially taking that as a draw on liquidity. That didn't happen and did the exact opposite. Of course, since the dollar is going higher as well currently, we have to be careful with everything going on right now on the Forex pairs. If the dollar is not clear, then Forex majors, especially everything here with a USD in its name, you have to be careful, because if the dollar is not clear, then you might have a contradicting bias, etc. So purely based on the dollar here, it is very important to understand that we might continue lower off of that order block right there if the dollar wants to continue higher. But if the dollar rejects off of that weekly fair value gap that we have just outlined, then obviously we will likely see higher prices off of potentially this order block right there, that daily fair value gap right there. So that is crucial to understand. And we also have a weekly fair value gap to work with right there, which we can head higher from if the dollar wants to reject. So especially when you're trading Forex, that is very crucial to understand how that relation to the dollar is working, right? That is very important. So that is what I'm looking at with first draw on liquidity, of course, being that weekly fair value gap. Once we trade into that, being very careful. All right, what does price want to do? Does it create bullish fair value gaps? That is my main question. If it's creating bullish fair value gaps, yes, then I would like higher prices. If there's no bullish fair value gaps, all right, then I would say lower prices. On the 4 hour, we could see something like this first. Who knows, right? All right, on EU. Now, I do quite like this on EU because we have a weekly fair value gap sitting right there. Again, this is why a lot of pairs and a lot of instruments actually were pretty tough to trade, because you had your consolidation, expansion, consolidation. So that candle is not necessarily untradeable, that candle, but that third candle, and that's fractal, right? That can be on a daily, can be on a 15-minute, can be on a 1 hour, whatever. That third candle right there, that is it's a weird candle because it can go higher, it can go lower, it can consolidate until it creates a new weekly fair value gap. And then you have a new discount rate to work with. Once you have that new discount rate to work with, what happens? You can again create the exact same where you have consolidation and that expansion, which is that second candle. And then you have the same cycle, right? So that is what you need to be aware of. So right there, we have an overlapping high as well. We can come into that draw liquidity. Now on the daily, I like it more because we have just a clear body, which I do quite like more when selecting just highs like that. So that can be a very clear draw on liquidity right there. I do quite like that. It looks, by the looks of this, of course, on a weekly time frame, there's no reason here, and it's the same for the dollar. There's no reason just yet to call a top or to call a bottom on the dollar based on the weekly time frame. That's the exact same what happened on GU just a couple of weeks ago when we were in this situation. Can you see this situation? It's currently the same as on EU right there. There's no reason to call a top just yet there. If we can call a top, we would want to see this weekly fair value gap getting disrespected and slowly climb lower. And that can already be told by the daily fair value gaps and 4-hour fair value gaps, bearish fair value gaps. Again, currently, there's no reason for me to call a top right there. If we want to call a top, then of course it's a short-term top where we have this as drawn liquidity, and from there we can potentially continue higher, something like this, right? So it's something to be aware of. All right, GU. Now GU has been aggressively moving lower. I personally want to see GU potentially trade into that monthly SIBI there. I do believe that might want to do that still. So there's obviously a big rejection right there. I can already tell if I'm looking for longs on EU or GU, I would prefer EU right here. Reason being for that is obviously if you look at this, there's no fair value gap higher. I love to work with fair value gaps. That's personal preference. I like to work with fair value gaps. So just an order block right there. It's not something I would prefer. And EU is a clear fair value gap, clear overlapping high. That's what I like. So if we can get into this and then continue higher, I would prefer to trade EU right there instead of GU. So yeah, but again, there is no reason to call a top just yet right there. Not just yet. It might create a top right there, but not just yet. We might continue higher still here. It's something to be aware of. If we do continue higher and we don't want to take out those highs, then obviously a clear drawn liquidity first could be that fair value gap right there. So if we do create some bullish fair value gaps, we can trade into that fair value gap as a clear drawn liquidity coming into the week. So we had a nice thank God it's Friday setup right there as well. Can we continue higher something like this? Nice drawn liquidity could already be your week done right there. USD Canadian dollar. So currently, last week we talked about having this sweep and it might want to continue higher, especially if the dollar wants to continue higher. Now this has been consolidating for the beginning of the week, and then on Friday or late Thursday and then Friday it finally showed some movements higher. This right there is your clear drawn liquidity. After we reach that drawn liquidity, what happens? That is very important again. Do we see the dollar rejecting off that weekly fair value gap? Do we see dollar continuing higher? That is important questions to ask yourself. But in this moment, that high is your drawn liquidity right there. So how can we trade into that high? Going into the 1 hour time frame potentially. Having that order block with a potential overlapping fair value gap right there. Then we can look to trade into those highs. Now, I haven't taken a look at news just yet. This Tuesday on the A-to-Z guide, we will touch on news in the A-to-Z guide in depth and exactly how I view news, etc. So that is also a crucial factor because right now I'm not incorporating news, and news will tell you exactly on which days it will likely move, etc. That's all going to be explained in the A-to-Z guide as well. So right here, this is your drawn liquidity right there, in my opinion. Now, USDJPY, if the dollar wants to continue higher, then USDJPY is the pair you want to be trading. And the reason for that is on a monthly basis, we had that as our drawn liquidity, that monthly fair value gap with that monthly order block right there. And obviously, the target then is that monthly high right there. So you have all this space that you can potentially work with and take trades from. That is insane. You have a monthly drawn liquidity. If you have a monthly drawn liquidity, then obviously that is you for the coming years you might have a drawn liquidity, right? That's feels great, because then you don't have to put in a lot of work on getting to the drawn liquidity, because you already know who wants to draw to that. All right, let me just find a 4-hour discount array or a daily discount array and just trade higher from there. That's it. So coming into this week, that drawn liquidity right there is still looking like it might want to reach for that. Last week we talked about, I didn't talk about ST model because I didn't release that video yet, but you had an ST model right there, and then afterwards we swept that low, continuing higher. Perfect. Love it. And then eventually right now we could see a 4-hour fair value gap and then just continue higher and explode higher. Would be lovely to see. So this is looking very good, USDJPY. Silver. So silver, we expect higher prices off of this fair value gap right there and potentially that overlapping high. Now it's very important to understand again the relation with the dollar, but as well I will go over gold as well, and I'll show you what I'm thinking about gold, and that's of course also very important to look at silver as well. So on a weekly basis, we came into that weekly order block, we swept that high into a fair value gap, but that was already traded into, so we wouldn't place too much significance on that. We just swept that high. What can we do here? We are also creating a weekly fair value gap right there. The weekly fair value gap can trade into, or price can trade into that weekly fair value gap with the overlapping high. From there, if we want to continue higher, we will likely continue higher, something along the lines of that. If we don't see a rejection there and we see a big retracement, something like that, a big retracement, I would argue something like that, then I would expect lower prices right there. But again, that's also based on what the dollar is doing. Is the dollar rejecting? Is it not rejecting? That is something we can't see currently, but if it happens during the week, then that's exactly what we want to react upon. That is very important. So this low getting swept is also not that crazy. Why isn't it crazy? Because there's a weekly fair value gap just below it. So if there's a weekly fair value gap, what is stronger? The daily needs to be in context of the weekly time frame, of course, like we always talk about. So if there's a weekly fair value gap and a daily order block right here, will this daily order block hold right there? It might hold. It might actually hold. I'm not going to lie, it might hold. But the probabilities of coming into that weekly fair value gap and with that weekly high are way higher because the weekly has a stronger magnet. The magnitude of the weekly is way stronger. So again, right here, it is anticipating price and seeing and reacting what I want to do. Keeping in mind that once we come into that high with the weekly fair value gap that's overlapping, be aware, we might reject higher from there. Currently, you'll notice that currently there's nothing to clear because a lot right now, and I can't emphasize this enough, a lot is dependent on what the dollar wants to do. Does it want to reject lower? Then obviously we are in for a great time and we can just long and make millions. But currently that's what we have to react towards. All right. Gold. So gold had a beautiful weekly range, in my opinion. It had an absolute beautiful weekly range. And what I mean by that is we saw this Monday expansion higher. And this is something I'll go over in the AUDUSD guide on Tuesday. Using news, Monday already expanded high. And the reason being for that is Monday already had the news. Monday had the volatility to support the idea of going higher there. Then we saw Thursday coming into what? A weekly fair value gap right there. Which is interesting because we're seeing a big rejection. Now, the next drawn liquidity is very, very obvious. This weekly fair value gap, in my opinion. The most obvious drawn liquidity right now, weekly fair value gap towards this weekly fair value gap. So how can we deliver into that weekly fair value gap? Well, at the end of the week right there, we already had right there your 4-hour fair value gap right there. Nice trade. And then we are slowly dropping off. So if we can get new fair value gaps, new order blocks to work with, then that is exactly what you want to use to take shorts off of, targeting that weekly fair value gap. So you can see here, am I expecting this daily order block to hold? That is something that could happen. But again, going over the premise, the weekly has a stronger magnitude, right? And that's also a reason why I believe, right, it didn't come into this daily fair value gap. Why not? Because there was a weekly fair value gap withholding price from coming into the daily fair value gap currently. It can still come into that daily fair value gap, but by the looks of this, by this rejection, we might already continue lower. So right there, this weekly fair value gap is holding price. It's defending price from going into the daily fair value gap, because that's the first line of defense, you could argue. And then here, the exact same thing. We have this daily order block, but is this daily order block significant on a weekly time frame? No, it's not really. So the weekly will be stronger, and the weekly will have a stronger magnet and might do something like this. But if we have a nice rejection, then we might just continue lower from there. So then this daily order block is not that relevant currently for me. Yes, we can continue higher off of that order block, but the probabilities are not that high. So I would prefer trading off of that weekly fair value gap right there. All right, Bitcoin or crypto in general, an absolute shithole. So we are coming into that weekly fair value gap. I still have this monthly SIBI as target. Let me show you that monthly SIBI. Still my target. Still my target. But how can we deliver into that weekly fair value gap right there? We are not really seeing a rejection right there. This is typical crypto. And what you'll see then is maybe in the coming months or whenever, you'll see this consolidation, and then one day you'll just see this, or the other side, of course, and you'll just see a big movement. That's so typical crypto. It happens all the time. You have big consolidation, and you just have one spike for one day, and then it turns into shit again, and it happens all the time on crypto. So something to be aware of, right? That all this price action, yes, you have an ST model there, but is it truly reliable? Because of the characteristics of crypto, I would argue, not really. For crypto, if you want to trade it, I would advise more higher time frame swings. Again, not financial advice or anything. Don't sue me. So let's see if you have other pairs. Tanner, let's go. Tanner, last week, Tanner Murphy gave me some of the best pairs, and he gave me Euro GBP actually, which I took a winner on Friday. So thank you, Tanner. I owe you some dollars. But yeah, he gave some insane pairs that were actually looking very clean. So I hope that this week you can give me some pairs again and I can make some profit again. Thank you. All right, let's look at New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. We are coming off of that order block on a weekly basis. Now the thing here, we are sweeping that high, right? But the thing is, that high, this leg didn't have a fair value gap, right? So it is expected to be swept. It not really expected, but the probabilities. You need to understand, I'm always talking about probabilities. So I'm emphasizing on it a lot. The probabilities of this getting swept instead of this high getting swept, because there's a fair value gap in this leg, this high will likely not get swept because there's a fair value gap in the leg. That is extremely crucial to understand as well. So because we are still bearish from this standpoint, I believe, and because of the aggressive rejection right here, we are not respecting this at all currently. What is the draw on liquidity right here? In my opinion, it is that low right there. We might see some rejection right here and it will struggle. So that's something you can see on the lower time frame potentially, where we do something like this and struggling, then eventually we just continue lower until draw on liquidity. That is something we can potentially see coming. So right now, the question is, all right, do we have potential premium arrays to short off of, to take shorts off of? So we have potentially Monday creates a fair value gap right there if Monday is slow, and Tuesday stings into that with overlapping lows as well, which is pretty nice. And then we can continue lower off of that. I do quite like this, Tanner. You're a legend, man. I do quite like this. You're always sending me signals. Oh, I love it. So yeah, that's exactly what I would be looking at. And then on the 4-hour basis, oh, perfect. Lines up with also a 4-hour fair value gap right there. So that could be very nice. I do quite like it. I like this a lot. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. Looks very nice. I like it. With this as potential draw liquidity in mind. Keeping in mind, we can potentially see some resistance because we are in a weekly fair value gap. Then you will likely see something like this. And then boom, boom, voila, draw liquidity. What was the other pair you were talking about? USDCHF. Let's go. USDCHF. What is going on here? What did I have here? Oh yeah, that low. I mentioned this low. And the reason I mentioned this low, let me go over it again, because I believe some people might not have been there at that moment. You see a lot of wicks here, right? These are either news wicks or whatever it is. Not sure what this is, but these are news weeks. Usually a news drive or some crazy black swan event where something crazy happens. Maybe a president dies or something. I don't know. Maybe a war starts, etc. Then you have crazy wicks like this. It's comparable to CPI NFP, but CPI NFP will not make this crazy wicks, of course. But still, they will have just annoying wicks, you could call it. Just annoying wicks that are not really useful. Just ignore those wicks. That's what I do. So I ignore the wicks. I just pretend like they're not even here. And if we do something like this, for example, and we draw a white box, visual brings you front, then you'll see, all right, we have fair value gap there, and we have that swing low to work with. So that right there is a draw liquidity, and potentially even later on, we have this order block right there as well. Not forgetting about this breaker as well right there. So that is some nice draw liquidities that we can trade into. So we can see on, this actually had a pretty clean, thank God, Friday setup by the looks of this. We came into that swing low right there, and right now, we are seeing some kind of rejection. Now, if we want to continue lower, what will likely happen? We have a clear daily fair value gap right here. Oh, yes, perfect. And then, sorry, this is a weekly fair value gap. Sorry. That's a weekly fair value gap, a clear weekly fair value gap right there. Then this is also not your thank God it's Friday setup, right? Oh, that makes sense. I thought I was on the daily time frame. So right there, this again can happen. Continue lower, keeping in mind that it might want to retrace towards that overlapping PD rate. How can we know if it will retrace into just this and continue lower or into this? Again, that is where the daily comes in and the 4-hour comes in, because the daily will not reject lower if we are getting into that overlapping PD rate. If the daily is respecting that fair value gap right there, for example, that fair value gap right there, and is continuing higher off of that, and then here rejects lower, then obviously this is your drawn liquidity. But if this gets respected, then the drawn liquidity might be that overlapping PD rate. So then we can take longs until we reach that overlapping PD rate. And then we again reassess the whole pair and think, all right, we might want to continue lower off of there. So that's something to keep in mind, right? Something to be very aware of. If you can compare, that's just me applying my mentorship concepts. If you look at this pair compared to the one we just saw, which was New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, I believe, yeah. Look at this from a filtering process standpoint. Which one was the cleanest? And I think you can already tell, right? New Zealand dollar was way cleaner than this one. So my preference would already be on New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. That's exactly how I get to a pair as well. I compare the bullish arguments to the bearish arguments. Right here, we have bearish and bullish arguments. That leads to a 50-50 bias. Once I have a 50-50 bias, this is something we'll go over in Friday in the AUDUSD as well. If I have a 50-50 bias, I don't trade it. I just don't. I either need 100% bullish or 100% bearish argument. For New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, you could notice I had 100% bearish arguments. There was no reason. And again, that's not me trying to think from an enigma magical standpoint. No, that's just me looking at price action and going through the probabilities. What might happen here? Right here, we have bullish arguments. Can I see price go higher here? Yeah, I could see it go higher off of this daily fair value gap. Can I see price go lower there? Yes, off of this weekly fair value gap. So, contradicting biases. You don't trade it. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, there was no contradicting bias. There was just, yeah, this is going lower. Perfect, that's the one you want to trade. And that's as easy as it gets, really. Of course, with practice, with time, with experience, etc. Blah, 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 blah. Then it gets easy, but eventually you'll get to the stage as well where it's just very easy, and you can tell right here. I had to make a lot of arguments. I had to almost force myself towards a bias here. The other New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, I saw it and I was like, oh, this is nice. I like this. I'm going to trade this. That's exactly something we will go over in the AUDUSD guide on Friday. So that's interesting. Nasdaq, I guess, going to... What's up, Rajesh? Sorry. What's up? Love to see it. Nasdaq, I guess, going to weekly equal lows 14100. Let me take a look. S23 Ultra 5G, beautiful name. Can you send an email towards info@ario.io and I'll go over that fully. And if you have already sent an email, I'll get to it after the live stream. info@ario.io. It's also on the wob.com. You can see it. All right, so the equal lows at 14100. Let's see these ones. Yeah, could be the case, bro. Could be the case. That's a nice spot, actually. I like that you spotted that. Could be the case, for sure. For sure. Would have to see what it does here because this is an aggressive reaction lower. You can see, right? See the difference that I'm trying to tell you. You can see that the fair value gaps are telling you a story. And not that I'm fitting this to my narrative or anything, but can you see this top right there and this top and then compare it to that top? Boom, significant fair value gap lower right there. So that is already getting my mind cracking to, are the fair value gaps might be whispering something in my ear like, I want to go lower. All right, interesting. So right there, this could very well happen, especially if the dollar wants to continue higher as well. Right there, could be very interesting. How can I find kill zones for Indian indices, or maybe a method I can use to find them from an instrument? Ooh, that's a great question, but what I can advise, I'm not sure because I don't trade Indian indices, that kill zones are a general point. For example, on DAX is also, it's German, right? But the kill zones still work because it's still the same process. You might be more, it's more so in Asia. So you might see that the Asia range is not actually an Asia range, but it's the Asia kill zone where you have a lot of volatility coming into Asia, for example, if that might have, or I don't know if the market is closed during the time, etc. But try to see where the volatility comes in and you can make patterns. For example, on DAX, I know at 3 a.m., DAX is crazy. At 3 a.m., you see a lot of volatility coming into DAX, like crazy volatility. It's like equities open. Like, for example, you'll see this, it's beautiful, but at first it's also scary. And then you're like, what is happening? For example, right there at 3 a.m., you see a lot of volatility. So I'm sure if you go through the Indian indices as well, you'll see that for sure. How to know if price is respecting or disrespecting weekly fair value? That's a great question, my friend. So the first question you can ask yourself there is, whenever we disrespect a fair value gap or disrespect anything, we are closing inside of it. So what I mean by that is, let me find an example. Let me go over New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. So when I talked about this weekly fair value gap and I said it's disrespecting this right there, the question behind that, or how I view it, is we are closing inside that fair value gap. It's fully disrespecting it. If it was to hold, for example, this fair value gap, can you see the difference between this weekly fair value gap and that weekly fair value gap? The same fair value gap, but the reaction we get. This is a wick. This is a body closed inside that fair value gap. So on the lower time frame, what will happen there? On the 4 hour, you will have fair value gaps lower. So if you go onto the 4 hour, you will have fair value gaps lower right there, telling you it's likely respecting. Right here, bearish structure, bearish order flow is just continuing lower. You only have bearish fair value gaps right there. So that is exactly how you can view respecting, disrespecting, etc. You can view it on a higher time frame by just looking at the candles. That is what we call candle signs in the mentorship. And by the lower time frame, you can see it by the bullish fair value gaps. Great question. Check Australian dollar JPY. Let's do it. Yeah, I believe I'm also expecting higher prices. I believe so. When I looked at it yesterday, I saw something I did like. Yeah, we came into that weekly fair value gap. Now the thing is right there, I potentially said, I didn't potentially say, but I said I potentially want to expect lower price until that, and then we could potentially continue higher. This is still the drawn liquidity. That is also the drawn liquidity. So it's still bullish overall. Now this was scary because here we were stuck between this PD array and that PD array. So right there, I didn't want to get involved. But looking at this, we had 4 hour fair value gaps to work with. So that was pretty nice as well. Right here, it is essential to understand we are now coming into this daily fair value gap. Same process. Do we disrespect this fair value gap or do we respect the fair value gap? On a daily basis, you can tell if this daily candle right now, for example, right there, it's closing inside that daily fair value gap. Already tells us a lot. It's not rejecting on the lower time frame, right? So right there, if we continue climb higher, it's not really rejecting lower. We have no bearish fair value gaps to work with. Then right there, the next drawn liquidity is those highs, that high, and eventually that high. This is your last line of defense for bearish prices. And I do think right here, price wants to continue higher. This drawn liquidity and that drawn liquidity. So I believe you're right. I agree with you, my friend, Just Dollar, on high prices for sure. Ooh. Hello, sir. I special request for a mark structure draw, so I will see how you map mark structure shifting and how to marking STH because your two videos different advanced mark structure and mark structure shift. Yeah, let's go over it. So for the market structure shift, I would just advise using ST. But if we go over market structure in general, then you just use intermediate term lows, intermediate term highs, etc., and short term lows, short term highs. So what happens if we have, for example, we have this intermediate term high, we have this first intermediate term high right there, right? And from a technical standpoint, you could say that is not an intermediate term high because there's no short-term high to the right of it, but it still sticks out right there. It's outside. Intermediate term highs and intermediate term lows, they are sticking out. From a mechanical standpoint, it's when you have a short-term high to the left and short-term high to the right of it, of course lower, then it's an intermediate term high, but this is sticking out. So that could be drawn liquidity. So all the short-term lows on a daily basis right there, short-term lows are what? The short-term low right there, that will hold right there until we create a new short-term low. Short-term low is just a swing low right there, right? Then we create a new short-term low that will hold until we meet that drawn liquidity in the form of that intermediate term low. Once we take out that intermediate term low, I meant intermediate term high, of course. Intermediate term high, then right there, we can expect a bigger retracement, and the short-term highs or short-term lows are not necessarily protected anymore. So right there, that is something to be aware of. And then what you would do, what I necessarily do, or what I most of the time do, is I zoom out, and once we take that high, I zoom out and I see, all right, we might retrace into a weekly fair value gap and then continue higher. And then you'll see on a weekly fair value gap, since it's fractal, you will see the short-term lows right here, this intermediate term low now, and this was a potential intermediate term low as well. Intermediate term low, short-term low, short-term low, new short-term low will hold until when? Until we take those drawn liquidities, until we take the intermediate term high on a weekly basis. Once we take the intermediate term high on the weekly basis, what will happen? On a monthly basis, we might intermediate term low, create a retracement, makes a new intermediate term low or makes just a short term low right there, and we continue higher off of that, targeting those intermediate term highs. Right? That is how I view it, and that's how you can view the fractal nature of it. And New Zealand, a very clean buy setup. Oh, my friend, I was actually looking at sells personally. But again, I might be completely wrong. So if you are viewing buys on a certain pair where I was looking for sells, then you do you. I might be completely wrong. So don't worry. Don't worry at all. Euro Australian dollar. Let's do it, my friend. Euro Australian dollar. Don't let my analysis discourage your own analysis. What I mean by that is I might be completely wrong and you might be completely right. I am not a master, or I'd like to believe I'm pretty good at these things because I'm making money off of it, but I am not the god of the charts where he knows everything. No. You might be way better off in your own analysis, etc. So please take it with a little bit of grain of salt and do your own analysis as well, right? That is very important to understand. Right there. Euro Australian dollar, I've been bullish on for a very long time. Ever since we came into that weekly fair value gap, we had that rejection. We came into this new weekly fair value gap. We have been messing around here. That is crucial to understand. We have been messing around. That is what I don't really like to see. But again, it can happen. Then afterwards, right now we are seeing a huge rejection. First target. Boom, there. Second target is this drawn liquidity right there, that high. How can we deliver into that? Well, we are coming off of this 4-hour fair value gap right there and breaker, small little breaker right there. Can we continue higher with new fair value gaps that high? Again, once we climb above that high, this high, I would now want to see that high exactly hold a support. Once we climb above it right there. And then I would expect something like this, potentially overlapping fair value gap, do something like this, and continue higher. That's what I would want to see. It looks nice, but this is where my trust issues come in. And the reason being for that is because, can you see this price action, this consolidation? When you have a consolidation like this, and I in a mentorship, I call it the loyalty test. Where if you are getting fooled once, so you think, all right, we are close to drawn liquidity right there. And we think, yes, we are continuing higher right there. And then, oh, it just fails. Then it's like the saying, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if you're getting fooled once right there, you're like, all right, that's just the nature of price. But then the second time, it might want to set something up. I would need to be very convinced that it actually wants to do that. So that's the same with Euro Australian dollar. It's just been consolidating right there. Yes, it can continue higher. This is still my drawn liquidity. Don't get me wrong. This is still my drawn liquidity. And that also. But how many hits are you going to take before you actually get to that winner and your ego gets satisfied? That is very important to understand. So yeah, hope that makes sense. Do you think, let me see, where was I? No, where was I? Do you think you can earn 10K a month from trading alone from $70? Crypto, Forex, indices, stocks. Ooh, not financial advice. Whatever I'm saying, not financial advice. But no, I do not think that is possible. I do believe it's possible, but consistently make 10K a month, no. If you use $70 to get to 10K a month over the long period, then yes, of course, it might be doable. I do think it's doable, but consistently 10K a month, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that's possible. Use the oil. Would love to see it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, my friend. US oil. It's this one, right? TVC, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Interesting. Interesting. What are we doing? Let's see on a monthly basis. All right. On a weekly basis. Do we have some fair value gaps to work with? It's a small fair value gap there. Now, this is interesting. This is what I like. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm saying respecting and disrespecting. This is nice. I like this. You can see we are coming into that small fair value gap. Is it a fair value gap? Yeah, a very small fair value gap. Can you see what this week is doing? That week, on the Monday, 10th of July, it's rejecting lower. Then afterwards, this candle is going higher. Indicating what? This fair value gap is not strong enough to hold. Otherwise, it would have pushed lower on this candle. So this already leads me to think that this right there, that fair value gap, is the next drawn liquidity. And this fair value gap can now try again. And you can see, all right, the weaker fair value gap didn't hold, then this might hold. That is, I like that. I like that a lot. So how can we deliver into that fair value gap? That is my drawn liquidity right there. How can we deliver into that? Well, if we continue higher a little bit right there, then we have a nice order block to work with right there. With a potential fair value gap. Now, since we haven't taken out that high just yet, what I would do in this situation, I go into the 4 hour. 4 hour isn't that clean, to be honest here. Go into the 1 hour. It's not that clean as well. But right there, what I would expect, we have this intermediate term low right there. I would expect likely this order block to hold. And then do something like this. Take out the drawn liquidity. After that, what I would do is go into the daily again, seeing, all right, does the daily have a daily fair value gap? And then come back into that order block and then continue higher. With this as drawn liquidity, I do quite like that. Quite like it. Thank you for recommending it, actually. Thank you. Appreciate that. F1 in 2 minutes. P1 max, P2 Hamilton, P3. It's max P1, actually. Is he? That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh. Let me see. Where was I? Do you believe we can make money from IST concepts? Yeah. Yeah, I do believe. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm not nothing personal, but it would be very funny if I didn't believe it was possible making money from ICT concept and me trying to teach a simplified version of ICT concepts. That's it's the ultimate scammer. But yeah, I do believe it's possible. The only thing is, though, what I would suggest and what I want you to be very aware of is ICT concepts is a very large amount of concepts. Try to narrow it down, because I just heard this week about some kind of Reaper fair value gap. You don't need that. As much as I love ICT and thank you for his teachings, but if he's constantly, and I'm not trying to take a shot at ICT, so please don't take me out of context or whatsoever. But if there's constantly a new concept that he's teaching you, etc., then that leads you into shiny object syndrome, and that's very dangerous and can only be detrimental to your learning. And that way, if you're constantly learning new ICT concepts, then you will not make money from ICT concepts. So that is very crucial to understand, that you're not going into that shiny object syndrome of you're constantly seeking that next new thing. And ICT just mentioned this new week opening gap and this new Enigma concept. Woo! And then, yeah, obviously it won't work, right? Because you're not sticking to one thing. That is very important. So, yeah, that's why I do believe the smart money concept space is very dangerous, because the reason why we even came into the SMC space in the first place was because we were looking for a deeper understanding. And that is even why they were created in the first place, because ICT was looking for a deeper understanding of market price action. And he found it. He found it, exactly that. But at what cost, right? At a certain cost. Because obviously he got to it neglecting support and resistance, etc., while there was support and resistance traders that were profitable. So I don't blame him or anything, because thank you for doing that, because now we have something beautiful to work with. But it's just essentially one big gathering of shiny object syndrome traders, including me, because I was also like that, where I was constantly looking for something better to work with. And that is why it's such a deep shithole in the end of the day, because constantly people are trying to seek the next best thing, and they think they need more understanding to make more money, which isn't true. There are the FTMO guy that had the biggest payout in FTMO. If you look up his interview, he's trading some support and resistance RSI indicating, and he made 500k in one payout. I think that tells you enough, right? So yeah, it's me going on a little bit of a rant, but yeah, that's my answer to you. Gold future chart is different from XAU. A bit bullish given weekly fair value gap and previous month's high yet to draw on. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Might be because the times differ a little bit, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. What's up, Tabo? Love to see it. What's up? My man comes from Netherlands. Kannst du auch Deutsch sprechen? I can understand it, but I can't speak it. I can see what the Germans are saying, but speaking, you might hear it. It's not my best ability to speak German. Only a little bit, small little bit. Can you draw on liquidity Nifty 550? Let's do it, my friend. Let's do it. Nifty 50, the crazy 50. Am I picking the right one? Please tell me if I'm picking the right one. I will do, is this the right one? I'm not sure. I'll just do this one, Nifty 50. Nifty has such crazy gaps. It's insane. It's insane. The drawn liquidity, again, I might be on the complete wrong instrument here, so do tell me if I'm wrong. The closest drawn liquidity, what I would do in this situation, if you're trading Indian indices especially, there's a lot of gaps. You get a lot of gaps. Turn on the no gap indicator, and it will remove the gaps, and then you just have these fair value gaps to work with. Or you can just ignore the gaps right there, and then you just have these fair value gaps. I would only use the fair value gaps, not the gaps. I don't necessarily like gaps. I love fair value gaps, not necessarily gaps. So right there, this is your first drawn liquidity in my opinion. So how can we come into that? And then again, seeing if we reject there, can we make higher prices off of there, continuing higher towards that high, potentially. On the 1 hour, right now we have nothing to work with just yet. Am I on the right Nifty? Let me see. I believe I am. There's a lot of gaps. Damn. All right. So how can we deliver into that daily fair value gap? Well, based on a 15-minute, all right, we have this leg with this fair value gap right there. If we can potentially continue lower off of that and then into that daily fair value gap, from the daily fair value gap, we can potentially see higher prices as well. It's interesting. So that would be my drawn liquidity, if that makes sense. Let's see. GBP Australian dollar. Let's do it. GBP Australian dollar. Let's see. Oh yeah, I do like this one. Last week we had this weekly fair value gap as drawn liquidity. So we said, all right, how can we trade into that weekly fair value gap? And we had that daily fair value gap. And then on the 4-hour, we had a nice delivery into that weekly fair value gap. Now the tables have turned, because now we have a weekly fair value gap, and weekly order flow right there wants to continue higher until that high. So you look for daily and 4-hour discount rates in the form of fair value gaps, order blocks right there, to continue higher off of. We have a potential breaker in the making there as well. So if we can get something like this and potentially daily fair value gaps to work with, that is very nice. So that is my drawn liquidity. And of course, this being the first one right there, and that this daily fair value gap is not something I would expect lower prices off of. Can it happen? Yes, it can happen, but it's not something I would want to see, because the weekly is obviously stronger right there. And if the weekly wants to push higher, then it will just push higher and ignore everything that's on the daily right there. So I do like that. I do like that. Let's see. USD30, yeah, I went over it. If you, what is the inequality of USD30 or Dow Jones? What do you mean with inequality? It's, you mean different pairs and why they are not moving in sync? No worries, Blue. Got you. Bro, how to look a lower time frame entry my models like minute 15. So entry time frames, and the reason I don't go into the 15 minute unless it's nifty, the reason I don't go into the 15 minute here, etc. The 15 minute is your entry pattern. The entry pattern, the lower time frame, is just to get in sync on what is already happening on the higher time frame. So for example, right here, the 15 minute time frame right there is just to get in sync with that weekly moving higher right there. That is very important to understand. So then that also leads you to, when you go into the 15 minute or the 5 minute or the 1 minute even, then, or even the 5 second, you need to have a boundary to go into that time frame. So what happens on the higher time frame, or doesn't necessarily have to be higher time frame. If you go into the 1 minute, what is happening on the 15 minute time frame, so I can go into the lower time frame. And that is very important. And then you exactly use the same thing. Use the ST model, use your market structure shift if you do want to use that, etc. And then it's happy days, right? It's not that difficult getting into the market. It's just knowing where price is heading towards, obviously. For day traders, should we use monthly bias as a drawn liquidity or weekly? Yeah, it's very important, but not necessarily monthly bias as in you are trying to predict the next 3 monthly candles. No, but if there's a monthly fair value gap, for example, right there, and we just started that month, then this is your drawn liquidity. It's the same why we had this weekly fair value gap right there last week. We mentioned this weekly fair value gap and we said, all right, that is already your drawn liquidity. So on the lower time frame, if you're a day trader on the 15 minute and on the 1 hour, etc., you look at how can we deliver into that weekly fair value gap. So that is where price gets drawn towards. That is very important to understand. So that is why monthly bias and weekly bias are sometimes misunderstood, in a sense that you're trying to maybe get to 100 candles on that singular time frame, where if you just use the weekly right there, then last week we already knew that the next weekly candle will trade into that weekly fair value gap. That is already your drawn liquidity. It's as simple as that. Yes, it's crazy, right? That is already your drawn liquidity. So on the 1 hour, you already have your context and you only want to be looking for shorts. So you have your breaker right there. You have an entry, then here another breaker, another entry, then there of the order block of the fair value gap, another entry. That's it, right? So that's why it's crucial, in my opinion, as a day trader, for sure. Great question, by the way. Thank you. I like that. If it's disrespecting it, then does it mean it is going for sell side liquidity then? Yeah, you could see it that way, for sure. For sure, you could see it that, what I mentioned in the fair value gap video as well on the HC guide on Friday, it's heading towards the next drawn liquidity, either higher or lower. So if it's disrespecting a bullish fair value gap, it's likely heading lower to a lower drawn liquidity, if that makes sense. Hindsight is your mentor's mentor. What's up, my friend? I like the name. Thank you, bro. No worries. No worries. Thank you. Where were we? Let me see. When you look at New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar daily, can't you see why? Can't you say it's a shift in market structure? What do you think? On the bullish side, yeah, for sure. On the bullish side, let's see. So this one, right? This bullish market structure. But then again, I would. The important context here is that the daily time frame needs to be in context of the weekly. So what I mean by that is the daily needs to be in context of the weekly. So the weekly right there is still bearish. So I wouldn't count that as a market structure shift. Reason being for that is just a sweep. So that is how you can differentiate that sweep between a market structure shift and because essentially this was still the lag. This was still the lag going lower right there. Oh, you're seeing an interesting Fibonacci. It's for an upcoming video. So right there, I wouldn't see this as a market structure shift, especially not since we're so aggressively going lower. If you were to continue higher, we would have likely respected that breaker right there and that order block and that fair value gap, which didn't happen. So right now I would argue, all right, we are likely heading towards that drawn liquidity. That makes sense. If that makes sense, that makes sense. This man deserves a thumbs up for his lesson. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Appreciate that a lot. Let's see. What pair do you usually trade? This is a great question as well. I trade quite a few. So if I go over my filtering process, there's two ways of getting to an instrument. What we call a flow trading plan. When you have a flow trading plan, you focus on one instrument only. And when I do that, I usually trade ES. So that's just ES right there. When I use a filtering process, I usually go over Forex pairs and I go over almost every Forex pair. And then I determine which pair is the highest probability. So that is my current trading plan. I go over Forex pairs and I determine which one is the highest probability. And whatever is the highest probability that is the one I want to trade. So for example, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar was very high probability. The reason it's high probability is because there's a clear drawn liquidity. I don't need to think a lot about it. There's a clear drawn liquidity right there that I can trade towards. So that is what I use. Hope that answers it, by the way. It's not a one thing answer. That makes sense. Mukesh Ambani strategy, please. My friend, I have no idea what that means. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to laugh at you or make fun of you or anything, but I have no idea what that means. I've never heard of that in my life. So I'm sorry about that. When we trade Monday and Friday, yeah, great question. When Monday has the economic calendar supporting the ID, that is when you want to trade on Mondays. Same for Friday. Friday, I would generally only try to trade. So Monday, actually, this Monday has USD news. So Monday can be traded tomorrow. So that's actually pretty nice. And then Friday, I would look at Thank God It's Friday setups. Personally only. I don't look to continue the trend on a Friday generally. So that is how I would view it. Great question. Very good video. Do keep creating a video summer. Will do, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it a lot. Can you talk about your mentorship fees? Can one start with 35 euros without paying the initial fees of 195 euros? Currently, no. We only work with initial fees, and that's because you're exposed to all the information at once, right? So it was only fair to do it, in my opinion. What do you think of Australian dollar, Canadian dollar? Can it go lower? And by the way, the fees are actually set up in a way that in the long run, it is actually beneficial to you because there's constantly updates as well. Not updates on a new concept and I'm throwing new concept at you and you need to learn a new stuff. No, the forecast, breakdowns, etc. New zooms, new way of explaining things. That is why with 35 euros a month only, that is where it's very, very beneficial because you've already paid off most of the stuff, right? So that's why I think it's beneficial to you. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Did I go over it already or not? I don't believe so, right? Oh, yeah. All right, perfect. This is, yeah. So right here, I was expecting last week, I was expecting high price. I was wrong on that. I was wrong on the high price. We didn't get high prices. Perfectly fine. I was wrong. And then eventually what happened is right now we are coming into the overlapping PD rate with that fair value gap. This is interesting. But from a weekly standpoint, if we look at this weekly, I like to believe that we might be heading lower right there with this as a drawn liquidity. Right there, just based off of this weekly. And then on daily, how can we deliver there? Well, we first have to disrespect this. So if this is where it gets tricky, because right now, if this rejects higher, then I would still say, all right, higher prices. But if this doesn't reject higher and sort of has a little push like this, every day is a little push, but then it slowly climbs lower or it falls lower. And then eventually, that is exactly where you want to be looking to short. So I would wait here until we either get higher prices off of this or we get lower prices. And there's a clear indication that this is either respecting or rejecting. That is what I would wait on. So maybe potentially later on in the week, if that makes sense. Gold, yes, my friend Mohammed. I went over it a little bit earlier, so sorry, but otherwise I keep on doing it, right? Otherwise I keep on being busy. So I went over gold a little bit earlier. If you can scroll back a little bit. How to draw liquidity if price is just at all-time high and going up? Yeah, Blue, that is a great question. That is annoying, and I don't like that. And the reason I don't like that is because I feel like I'm either trying to call a top or I'm trying to chase price. And when that happens, you have to be very careful that you're trading a short amount. So you might want to go into the 1 hour and trade off the 1 hour instead of focusing on the daily constantly, if that makes sense. But it's annoying. It's annoying. I fully get you. I don't like that as well. I don't like that. I marked off of daily. Very similar. We'll send you my mark to see what you think. Yeah, please do, my friend. Please do. I like it. Nice. Good to see. What's up, Nick? How you doing? Here, I took your advice from a few lives ago and I'm just crying FX replay backtesting as I'm aiming for 100k funded this August. Let's go, brother. Let's go. Let's go. The thing I would advise, don't get stuck in the FX replay, right? Forward testing, etc. That's very important. But I'm glad you're doing great, brother. Let's go. Once you're 100k funded, bro, dinner on me. You got this, bro. And if there's anything you need, just let me know. Just let me know. And we'd love to give you some advice or anything. Let's see. Difference between IFVG and FVG. IFVG is an inverse fair value gap. So an inverse fair value gap, for example, is this fair value gap was first when we came into it was a normal fair value gap. Once we traded above it and when we closed above it, so that was on that candle, we closed above it. Right now it becomes support becoming resistance, resistance becoming support. So right there. So yeah. Pretty interesting. Yeah, was right Nifty? All right, perfect. What is Nifty? It's what is it? It's the Indian Indices, I believe. Bank Nifty. Is that a different Nifty? Is it really? Let me check. Bank Nifty. All right, interesting. I actually did analysis before. What did I do here? I have no idea. Oh yeah, monthly fair value gap. Nice. What are we doing on a weekly basis? This is where it gets tricky, right? So we have consolidation, expansion, consolidation, what we mentioned at the beginning of the live stream. And then right now, the drawn liquidity, closest drawn liquidity is right there. See what we are doing there. If we are rejecting higher off of that, that could happen. I think it might be closely correlated to the Nifty itself, if I'm not mistaken. Bank Nifty and Nifty, it's the same name, but I'm not actually sure what Nifty means in general. So GJ, let's do it. Oh, that's the wrong GJ. GBPJPY. Let's see. Yeah, this is nice. So this is what we were talking about last week as well. We came into that week for value gap, and right now we finally have a rejection higher. So we had a nice consolidation. Well, nice. I wouldn't say it's nice, but we had a consolidation right there. Now we are continuing higher. I would expect higher price immediately right there. Not a big retracement into something like this. So higher price immediately after that. Continue higher off of maybe an order block right there with an overlapping value gap. And then boom, clear drawn liquidity. That drawn liquidity is so nice. It looks so good. Looks awesome. So I like it. Higher prices for sure. Potentially even daily for value gap. So where Monday consolidates and then Tuesday sting into it and we continue higher. Would be nice. I like it. Your Canadian dollar. I went over it. No, I didn't go over it. I'm lying. I'm sorry, my friend. I'll go over it immediately. No questions asked. All right. Or did I go over it? No, I don't believe I did. No. Monthly for value gap there. Right there. Weekly, what's happening? We're coming into this monthly BPR. Weekly BPR. The first drawn liquidity that I do like is this weekly fair value gap potentially. And then potentially continuing higher off of that as well. I don't really like this, to be honest. It's very 50-50. It's just one big consolidation if you just zoom out. On a daily time frame, we have a daily fair value gap right there to potentially work with, to take shorts off of. But keeping in mind that something like this might happen. But keeping in mind, overall, we are bullish, I would say here. So overall, I do think that these highs might be going right there. So shorting into that weekly fair value gap, I'm not sure if that's the right plan. I would wait for either we come into that weekly fair value gap or we create a daily fair value gap or 4-hour fair value gap higher. And then we trade off of that, not necessarily shorting. That is how I would go about that. Yeah, perfect. So yeah. Where was I? Let's see. Is the ICT concept work in crypto? Yeah, for sure. But I would argue there are way better things to trade than crypto, because you see the low volume, etc. It's the volume. Look at this. It is like, do you want to trade this? I think there's better options out there for sure. For sure. From your A to Z guide mentorship, which concept do you edge people to master in? So which one do I suggest, etc. to master in? That's a great question. So what I would master is fair value gaps. And the reason I say that is because obviously it might not work for you. Again, it might not work for you, fair value gaps, but fair value gaps tell you so much about price. They tell you exactly where price might want to head. They tell you about the momentum. They tell you about the whole volatility behind price. Fair value gaps tell you so much. And even if there's a fair value gap being created, for example, here in a weekly, then right there, this you can already tell by just a fair value gap being created. You can tell consolidation, expansion, consolidation. This candle will consolidate just based off the fact that this is a fair value gap. So I would say fair value gaps. But maybe I'm biased. I love fair value gaps. The inequality of a US30 is you can use the dollar itself. And if you want SMT, then you can use S&P 500 or Nasdaq, so US 100. Explain the market maker model and when to expect it. That is a great question. I do have a video coming up on that in the A to Z guide as well. You would expect a market maker model to form once we are moving from PD ray to PD ray. So what I mean by that is, for example, right here, we are coming off of that 4-hour order block, and then the target is that swing low. So you're moving from premium ray to discount ray. In between this high and that low, that is where your market maker model forms on the lower time frame. Now, you don't necessarily need to know it's a market maker model because it's just a simple entry pattern that happens right there. And this is exactly an example we go over in the A to Z guide as well. And we will go over in the A to Z guide. But this is where your market maker model forms. So it's the same on a daily. If we move from a daily, let me see, a daily premium rate to a daily discount rate right there, that is where your market maker model forms. Same here. When we move from this fair value gap towards that high, that daily high, that's from discount to premium. In that area, from that low to that high, that is where your market maker model forms. So you have that fake move and then the real move. That makes sense. Do you recommend hedge if the probability of taking SS or buy side is 50%? Ooh, I would never recommend hedging, to be fair. To be honest, but that's not just something I do. And the reason I not do that is because if I think I'm hedging, then I'm most likely just not clear on my drawn liquidity. I shouldn't even be in the market in the first place. That makes sense. Can you please explain the ST model again? It requires 2 fair value gaps from the higher time frame PD ray. Not necessarily higher time frame PD ray. We can even go over an ST right here. So an ST here is you have this bullish fair value gap, right? Then from that bullish fair value gap, you would now want a new bullish fair value gap. So when we trade into it, we have a new bullish fair value gap. That ST right there is indicating, I don't want to give away too much for the mentorship, but that is indicating bullish prices are now actually in the market. So when an ST forms, there are actually bullish prices in the market. So it's a confirmation of, price wants to go higher. And that's why I believe it's stronger than a market structure shift as well. implied fair value gap versus inversion fair value gap. I have no idea what an implied fair value gap is, to be honest with you. I don't know. I can't wait for the annotated fair value gap and the Enigma fair value gap, and then the Reaper fair value gap I heard just got released. Very nice to see. New DLC for the trading SMC concepts. Love to see it. When is the next DLC coming out? Again, I'm not making fun of you, brother, but it's just the concepts that are being created. It's just a bit too much, in my opinion. Profit formula. Love to see it. OS. Love to see it. Love to see it. Great question, Mahmoud. Hi, thanks for this. Live, may I ask how many times you enter it if first entry is lost? I'm in pair trade ID. I only enter once, so I'm either wrong, break even, win, I'm done. And no in between, so I only enter once on the one particular ID. That's how I would do that. And usually what happens, and that's why I emphasize so much on it, usually when people take a loss and in the same trade ID still a winner, it's usually because they suffocate their stop loss. And that's why that's so important, right? You don't suffocate your stop loss, you don't have to potentially risk the same amount twice on one singular setup. It's very important. Very important. IFG with FG above buys liquidity is bread and butter. Love to see it, my brother. Love to see it. $10 US dollar. Yeah, we went over it. No worries. We went over it. Did we go over Nasdaq? Yeah, all the way at the beginning, Eugene. All the way at the beginning. Family lunch. Christmas in July. So too much on the plate. Christmas in July. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, brother. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it. What did you have for lunch? Exactly. That is the most important question right now. What did Eugene have for lunch? Love it. Bro, your A to Z guide has helped me a lot. Thank you for the value. Appreciate it, Ari. Appreciate it a lot, man. Thanks. Or women. Appreciate it a lot. Love to hear that. Love to hear it. I ate my whole uncle. Ryan, we are trying to have a serious conversation here. OS, come on. This guy. Love it. EURUAUD just finished market maker battle on Friday. Oh, let's go over it. Did it finally finish the market maker battle we were talking about, actually? It did. Was it the one? Yeah, it was. I believe it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we talked about EURUAUD like a long time ago, I believe. And it finally finished this cleanest market maker buy model in the world, where we have that cleanest consolidation right there. Continue higher. ST right there. Perfect. Nice. Like to see it. Love to see it. Love it. ST stands for a sharp turn. Yeah, sharp turn. Yeah. Sharp turn. Love to see it. D Sharks. Let's go. Love to see it. Thank you once again. FGs are the best for sure. Even though I'm a member, I love your ICT core concept videos big time. Love to see it, D Sharks. Happy to have you, man. Happy to have you. EURUAUD is so good to trade. Yeah, that is true. True. EURUAUD is nice. It's nice. It is low resistance, high resistance liquidity run. So a low resistance liquidity run and a high resistance liquidity run, it's mainly based off of the higher time frame. And if you understand the concepts that I'm teaching, and you don't need to understand everything, but in this live stream even, I mentioned that the daily needs to be in concept of the weekly, and the 4 hour needs to be in concept of the daily, and etc. Every time frame needs to be in context of the time frame above it. So when you know that, and you have a weekly move from that fair value gap to that swing high, then everything on the daily, on the 4 hour, is just a low resistance liquidity run. Doesn't matter what it might seem like. So if this was a breaker right there, and you had this going against you, it would have done the exact same thing. And now it's obviously, this is an extra confluence, but it's just that the weekly is supporting an ID right there. When the weekly is supporting ID, it is going insane. There's volatility there, and then it will push higher. So that's the main premise behind it. For example, can I go into, yeah, all right. Nice. Yeah, right here, right? From a technical standpoint, and only, well, not technical standpoint, but usually when you go into Twitter, there's people saying like, this is a high resistance liquidity run. No, it's not. It just depends on what the context behind it is. So for example, this is not a high resistance liquidity run. Can you see how easy price took that out? And high resistance or low resistance liquidity run is just referring to how much time does it take to take that drawn liquidity. And if you have a weekly supporting the ID, then obviously on the lower time frame, it won't take a lot of time, because there's like a bigger object pushing price higher. So this is not a high resistance liquidity round because the higher time frame is supporting the ID. That makes sense. How to make narrative? Narrative is funny because narrative is a very personal thing, but to get to a narrative, you have to have guidelines first. So you create guidelines. For example, if we are going higher, where are we going higher from? And when you ask that certain question to yourself, now all sort of questions start coming into your mind and a narrative gets created just by one simple question. So that's funny. So yeah. Ooh. Same question I saw on Twitter implied for Vagab. Some charter guy was mentioning. Oh, nice. Yeah, I believe I've heard about it before, but I can't put my finger on it, what exactly it is. To be fair, to be honest with you. Heard that the inclined heard that the inclined paradigm horizontal fair value gap is getting added in the next season DLC. Totally can't wait. Oh, Tori, I love you. I love you, brother. That's too good. Oh, the new DLCs. Let's go. Love to see it. Where was I? Agree. For value gaps are awesome. Great session, Ario. Love to see it. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate it a lot. How are you, Ario? That's the real question. Everybody asks me, what is fair value? What is this? How is Ario? Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you? And thank you for asking. How are you doing? Do you think the $1K is good to start trading Forex or take a challenge better? I would say take a challenge because taking a challenge is where you leverage it, right? So you leverage that $1K and the $1K can become way more because you use leverage in that sense, right? But I would go for challenges and not spend that full $1K on one single challenge. I would go maybe 10 challenges, buy 10 challenges of it. So you have, you might fail one time, right? So it's very important for that. So yeah. Ario, I miss you. I miss you too, Jake Frog. I miss you too, brother. I miss you too. It was a terrible trading week for me. Oh, that sucks to hear, but it's a great learning experience. So it's a great trading week for you because you learned a lot. And I'll go over it why I do believe it was a difficult week. And what happened is most pairs and most instruments are in general where last week they had an expansion, and based on a weekly time frame, you can see we had consolidation, or this first candle doesn't really matter. This is an expansion, that's important, and then this third candle is where it becomes unpredictable, because then we are potentially creating for value gap. This can either retrace, can either continue. It's unpredictable. When that for value gap gets created, now again we might be in for new high probability price action. So you can see we have three phases. We have high probability, low probability. And that's constantly what's happening. That's also what happened here. High probability, low probability. Then here you get high probability again. That makes sense. But it's a great learning experience, right? It's a great learning experience for sure. What's your main strategy to trade? I go over filtering process and then I go over, it's called delirium. I go filtering process. Then I go, if it's daily PDRA, 15-minute ST entry. I already gave away too much, but that's basically it. I've mechanical guidelines for it. Mine is just liquidity sweep, mark switch shift for backup. Nice. That's also great. Nice. Thank you for HZ guy, man. New sub from Indonesia here. And your views help. Love to hear it. Thank you for that. Appreciate it a lot. Wait, am I just seeing? All right, perfect. Yeah. Nice. All right. Yeah, appreciate it a lot. I was just getting distracted by something on my outer screen. Sorry. From your experience, August too bad for trading. Well, August is definitely not a nice month to trade, but there might still be high probability moments inside that month. So to fully throw August in the bin is not justified in my opinion, but we can say, yeah, overall August might be a bit lower probability. So you want to demand more of a price and you want to lower your risk. That is important. Love from India. Love to see it. Love from the Netherlands, my friend. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thanks, bro. Why do people say that summer is bad for trading? Yeah, usually what happens during summer is the volatility is not that great anymore. And there's also, I believe, or there's a lot of news or there's not that much news, which is also a reason why there's not a lot of volatility. There are not a lot of people in the market as well, etc. There's certain conditions, right? As well as December, etc. So yeah, it's lower probability overall, but there are still high probability weeks for sure. So I wouldn't say just throw summer in the bin. No. There's some moments where it's high probability, but you have to demand a lot of price. And if you haven't traded summer before, just trade it. Just trade. That's with every low probability and high probability condition. If you haven't experienced it yet firsthand, then just do it. Just trade those low probability conditions and you will know yourself, all right, this is why it's low probability. Or even better, you know, all right, this isn't low probability for me because it worked for me. So that's perfect, right? Can you explain your narrative on the recent high on a dollar right there? How you would have seen the high probability you mentioned? Yeah, great question. So right there, we had this fair value gap, weekly fair value gap, and the drawn liquidity was already established. Drawn liquidity was those lows, especially since that weekly fair value gap. Once we trade into that, I just saw a funny question. Let me get to it afterwards. Once we trade into that weekly fair value gap, that right there is it's primed to have an expansion now. We always like to focus on retracement and get into the retracement to ride the expansion. That's what's happening there. So on a daily time frame, we swept those highs, that high, and afterwards, this price action is high probability because it's aiming for such a clear drawn liquidity right there and right there. And if you want my full thought process behind it, it might be actually beneficial to go over the weekly forecast we had because we mentioned that as well. So that might be more beneficial than me calling in hindsight because we also called it beforehand. If that makes sense. Then you see the full thought process. If that makes sense. 9 candles ago, that high. Yeah. Oh, this high or that high? This high, I was actually not that sure because that high is where I was like, all right, it might want to continue higher. But after we had this bearish fair value gap, that is when I knew, all right, this wants to go lower for sure. Seems that this week might be volatile. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Might be very volatile. So it's also something to keep in mind. Honestly, I have to love how mechanical this entire trade plan is. Give so much time to focus on yourself. Love it. Let's go, Tori. Exactly what I mean. Having a sort of, doesn't have to be 100% mechanical, but once it is 80% mechanical, which is the most trading plans I work with, 80% mechanical, that is the golden spot. Because then you have guidelines, but your intuition is also there to take over. So you're not only reliant on data and this and that. That's perfect. That is perfect, in my opinion. I've completed core content and now watching it again to make notes with the help of your notes. What should I watch next? After that, I would advise to not watch anything anymore. And I would just advise to watch charts, to be honest with you. And go into charts and see if you can find your own trading plan, find your own trading model. And that is where you'll learn the most. And I don't say that to say, stop watching videos. No. But I genuinely think that you learn the most from actually looking at the charts and studying the concepts that someone taught you. That's truly how I think you learn the most. So I would advise that for sure. It's great that you watch it again though. That's great. Yeah, this is one I love that. How many girlfriends do you have, my boy? I don't want to talk about it, my friend. No. 0. Absolutely 0. 0. Someone noted. Yeah, perfect. I did. Thank you. Yeah, just meant starting from the high. US perfect. Love to see it. Great. Thank you. No worries. I don't know if it's just me, but I just know that it's good to trade in the middle of the week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's just much movement. Exactly. And that's something we will go over in Tuesday as well. On Tuesday, when we go over news. It's usually that news is released on Tuesday, Wednesday, then the volatility is still in the middle of the week. So that is where the meet in the middle happens and you have a nice move, a nice trend. That is lovely. I love it as well. Nice that you noticed that actually. Write that down. That is certain patterns that you notice and that you don't actually need someone to tell you. You just notice it by yourself and you can learn a lot from that. I love that. Did we take the weekly fair value gap April 2022 on DXY or it has to be filled yet? April 2022. This one? Yeah, we didn't take it yet. Maybe on a future contract or whatever. But from this standpoint, we didn't take it yet. So could still be a target, right? Could still be a target, for sure. Why don't you trade more coins like Gala USD? It's high risk reward. Yeah, I personally don't really like it, to be honest. But maybe it's just the nature of how I got into trading, because I feel like a lot of people, they get into trading either through crypto or get into trading through stocks or whatever. When you get into trading through crypto, you will more so look at these types of coins, for example, I believe. And it's just what someone prefers, I believe. I personally don't really like it because it's just sort of a one-way exit. It's not that consistently tradable. For example, right here, it's just sort of dying off. Like, this is perfectly tradable. This is nice. But then afterwards, it's just, yeah, it's not that tradable anymore. And then you have to find a new one. It's not my cup of tea. But I can see why someone likes it, for sure. For sure. Thank you also side by side forward testing and tape reading. Love to see it. When is your mentorship starting? Mentorship has started already. But if you're the enrollments are starting in August again. But the essential is always open for you, my friend, for sure. But on the hourly time frames, okay, the hourly time frames. Yeah, you could trade this, but again, not my cup of tea, to be honest with you. And since the high time frame is already not that clear, I generally don't really go into the low time unless I want to have a specific trading plan for that specific instrument, if that makes sense. So that could be doable, for sure. Are going over the weekly profiles in the AUDUSD as well. I went over it a little bit earlier in an earlier video and dedicated to the weekly profiles. And I will go over it on the news video that is getting released on Tuesday, this Tuesday. I'll go over it again. And that news is very important to find the weekly profile. So yeah, I will, to answer your question, yeah, I went over it and I will sort of go over it again. Yeah. How can you trade every pair? Because if we focus on one pair, it would be great, right? What do you recommend? What I recommend is first, you start off with only focusing on one pair. So I personally, what I do, the filtering process is not that I trade every pair. When it comes to executing on that singular day, ahead of the session that I trade, I filter out the pair that I want to trade, and I only focus on that pair for that day. I don't trade other pairs. I only trade one pair a day. So what I would recommend, if you're just starting out, focus on one pair or one instrument only. That's all you need. That's all you truly need. And then eventually, if you feel like you're limiting yourself or whatever, you can potentially incorporate something new, etc. But that takes years. That does take years. That's not something that happens overnight or just in 1 month. You feel like, oh yeah, I should incorporate a new pair. No. It takes a long time. Love to see how you enjoy doing this and your positivity. You are exceptional. Love to see it, Bossmaker. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. I like that you mentioned the positivity because I always feel like if I'm positive, I hope to get something positive back, right? It's what comes around, what goes around comes around, something like that. I like to be positive, and I don't know. I have a feeling I'm very susceptible to negative people. I don't like negativity at all. It's a very low IQ thing to do, I believe. Negativity. I don't like it at all. And I feel like negative people are just stuck in their own misery and won't really achieve anything in life, to be honest with you. But again, that's how I view it. There's a thin line between you can be critical and negative. And negative, you're just being an idiot. And critical, like, I can respect that a lot if you're just critical, but you don't have to call someone an idiot to be critical, right? If that makes sense. That's just me, again, going on a rant, but yeah. Your clear explanation was greatly appreciated, and it's been incredibly useful to me. It's wonderful to encounter people like you who are willing to share the knowledge. Thanks once more. Appreciate that a lot. It means a lot to me, Allah. Thank you. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you. So I have a question. Do you have a video, or could you explain how to know if its premium or discount rate will be filled or retraced? Did you verify up to order block? Yeah, it's you go through the AUDUSD fully, then I go over everything you need right there. Yeah, for sure. How much should you say that a divergence changes your trade from 1 to 2? Are they important? SMT divergence, so the SMT, I don't use them at all, personally. To be honest with you, in my trading plan, they are not incorporated at all. Because I believe if the setup happens, for me, that's for me personally, if the setup happens, there's already SMT. Whether I pay attention to it or not, there's SMT. That's just when you take great setup, SMT happens regardless. Or if you pay attention to it, right? That's just how I view it, personally. Is it enough to stick with kill zones, or are there something about Twitter Guru and share about quatters within kill zones and 90-minute cycle stuff? Yeah. You know, what's funny is yeah, how can I say this the best way without being a dick? Is you don't need 90-minute cycles and you don't need quarters. And I believe the people that are seeking for those quarters and 90-minute cycles, they are usually people that can't be content and are just in a shiny object syndrome and think they need this holy grail to get to this holy trading plan where you have a 100% win rate. And that's usually the underlying reason to why people seek a 90-minute cycle or whatever, because they think it will fix all their problems and will get to a 100% win rate. But if these people understood that kill zones are just enough to make money, they will likely not. And if they truly believe that, then they will likely not go seeking for 90-minute cycles, go seeking for quadrants, whatever this, whatever that. And that's just usually what happens, right? So it is enough to stick to kill zones. And I believe it's enough to not even stick to kill zones, and you can be profitable without kill zones even. That's something actually we go over into the news video as well. So yeah, I can believe you can be profitable even without kill zones. And if you do want to incorporate kill zones, I would only advise to focus on kill zones and not the quadrants, the 90-minute kill cycles. Like, nah, just don't pay attention to it, I would say. It's futile. USD and DXY are the only ones I'm watching. Nice, brother. Love to see that. What's up, Sonoy? Thank you for the hearts. Appreciate it. Hi, Ali Reza. Beautiful name. Beautiful name. I like that. How to know that which news is restricted? Because some news goes one direction and some takes out both. If you're trading FTMO challenges, it will have a list right there. And I will also go over it in the news trading video. I'm referring to it a lot. I'm sorry, but I'll go over it exactly all the stuff necessary. I trade Forex in India. Is it not possible? Actually, I didn't know that. It's not possible. I didn't know that. I'm not from India myself. Sorry, brother, but I didn't actually know that. Thank you so much. It helps a lot. Appreciate that. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. How to differentiate between long-term high and intermediate-term high? I don't use long-term highs, actually. It's a great question, but I personally don't feel like long-term highs are necessary to have on your chart. I think short-term highs, short-term lows, intermediate-term highs, and intermediate-term lows are all that you need, for sure. 90-minute cycle. Don't worry about it, Sheeprock. It's this thing where you have kill zones inside a 90-minute cycle. It's a pain in the ass. That's what it is. Alright, sir, please tell how to use IPTA data range. Is it necessary for day trading analysis? No, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary, my friend. I don't think so. Good night, everyone. Where are you from, my friend? Good night. Is it like Asia or something? Indonesia stuff, Thailand. Is high impact news tradable? Yes, but depends on which news impact. Not CPI, NFP, or FOMC. Always avoid those. Always avoid those. Australia. Aha. Love to see it. The big spiders, the big snakes. The crazy country, but the beautiful country. That's for sure. Got a lot going on there. I like it. Do you skip Monday, brother? I skip Monday if there's no high impact news for the pair I want to trade. So if there's no USD dollar news. Whoa. US dollar news. My bad. Damn. US dollar news for that day, then I skip Monday. But if there is, then I keep on trading Monday. I know nobody likes to lose, but it's inevitable. How do you feel after a loss, and how do you personally get over it? That's a great question. I love the way you framed that. I love it. So it is inevitable, 100%. And that's exactly why we can't keep on chasing that 100% win rate, because you will lose eventually, one time, or even more times. And I think more times you will get into drawdown, etc. How do I feel after a loss? I don't necessarily feel anything, but I know after a loss, and this is the same for a win and a loss and a break even. Your psychology and your mental capacity to focus is affected by just one single trade. So after a loss, after a win, after a break even, I take a step back. I don't trade for the day anymore, not live trading at least. And I take a step back because I know my thinking is affected. Whether I notice or not, subconsciously my thinking is affected. Sorry. So that is exactly when I take a step back. So after a loss, I just take a step back. I take it on the chin, take a step back, close everything, go for a walk, whatever, go to the gym, and I just take a step back. Yeah. Do you trade with personal funds or funded accounts? Both, actually. Both. And I trade for investors as well. So private equity, personal, funded, a mix of everything. From Indonesia. Love to see it. Indonesia, 9 p.m. here. Oh, damn, it's evening already for you. That's kind of crazy, right? When you think about it, that when does Forex open for you? It's like a weird time, right? Or it's very nice actually, because you don't have to wake up that early. I like that. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Alfred. Love to see it. In India, trading Forex with direct funds is banned. I guess I don't know what the government's up to. That's crazy. I don't know why, but that's pretty. What's your trading method? It's the whole AUDUSD essentially. That's my trading method. Now that I get my fund account, how will positions be filled in comparison to the verification account? Are stop loss secured during a new city and equities open? Depends on. You should check if the account is truly live, because sometimes, or usually, what happens, a prop firm doesn't actually give you a live account. They just copy, if you are eligible and they think you're a great trader, they just copy the funds to their own live account, and you're not actually trading a live account sometimes. But if you are trading a live account, then just keep in mind you might get slipped here and there. You might get annoyed by spread. The slippage is essential to understand, but you won't notice a lot of difference if you are with a good broker or a good prop firm. What are you doing when the market's off? Well, on a Saturday and Sunday, I go over, I'm very busy in the mentorship as well, preparing stuff. Social media presence, of course, I love to do it, and I enjoy making the YouTube videos as well, etc. Going on live streams, for example, something I'm doing. And I also go to the gym, or I'm with friends, etc. And we go out, we could do something. I don't necessarily go to any clubs or something. I'm not really a club guy. I don't really like it, to be honest. I think I can just do something more productive with my time. And yeah, that's what I do mostly. And on Saturday and Sunday, I like to also just enjoy life a little bit more. For example, in the mentorship, I'm very busy throughout the week with trading and this, that. Just some time off that really benefits your mental health as well. Does contracts roll over for futures effect CFDs for non-US citizens? Oof. Contract rollovers for futures effect. I have no idea, to be honest, my friend. No idea. I would have to dive into it, but I can't give you one clear answer right now. Or sir, how to frame bias if we are super bullish and we didn't make any trades, so our dealing range is not defined? So how to make the bias then? You would play the closest PD race. So if there's a clear, for example, Nifty, maybe you're talking about Nifty as well, you would go see, is there a daily fair value gap? How can we trade into the daily fair value gap based on a 1 hour time frame? So we use more 1 hour time frame. Why don't you make a free Discord where all your subscribers can share IDs and charts? I've been thinking about that. I might do it in the future, but I would need to have someone that can be very aware of what's happening in the Discord and keep it alive, because usually it becomes a shithole, and it becomes and it's either inactive or whatever. So I would have to have a team that I can trust and that I can rely on to make that happen. Yeah. I also remember our government. No worries, Bilal. Thank you. I also remember our government taxes 30% on crypto transactional gains, but I banned crypto. What? They banned crypto. Wow. 30%. It's criminal. Don't get me started on taxes. I hate it. Not taxes as in the state, but taxes as in Belastingdienst. I hate it. How long will it take a newbie to be profitable in ICT? It's a great question. There's not one set time. Some, like for example, you have this 10,000 hour rule, and I have to mention this, sorry, but I have to mention this. You have the 10,000 hour rule, and the rule is not true, because usually when you follow your personality and you stick to something that you truly like, that's the same in trading, then you will learn it way faster than then you learn something that you don't like and that your personality doesn't suit, right? So that is when you can learn it in 1,000 hours. You can be profitable in 1,000 hours. It can also take you 10,000 hours if you are on the wrong path, for example, and you keep on being in a shiny object syndrome. Then it will take you way longer. So generally, I would say you can learn the technicals within 3 months. I'm really convinced of that. You can learn the technicals within 3 months. To be actually profitable, you need to overcome human nature and psychology. That will take probably another year, I would argue. So yeah, that's how I would view it. Can also be way sooner, of course, but yeah. Are you 6-figure trader? Yes, 6-figure. Not 7-figure quite yet, unfortunately. Hate to see it, but I can't complain. 6-figure it's insane. I'm absolutely blessed to do what I'm doing. Where you live, how much taxes do you pay from trading? Have you ever thought about going to Dubai with 0 taxes? So that's actually funny because I just recently went into it deeper as well. If I have personal gains, it's only 1% taxes. But if I make gains from for someone else, so for my investor or for a prop firm, for example, I pay, if I'm in the highest bracket, I pay 50% taxes. That's, I'm crying while saying that. I'm crying while saying that, but I have thought about going to Dubai, but I will likely not do it. And the first reason being for that is my whole premise behind life is freedom. And if I now go to Dubai to escape tax in some way or some form, then I'm living for my money, not for freedom anymore. And I will leave behind, I'm sort of led on, I'm controlled by money then. And that is not a thing I want to live with personally. But I can understand why people want to go to Dubai. I would love to have a company maybe in Dubai, but then still I have to be 6 months of that time in Dubai. And I haven't been to Dubai, so I can't tell you whether I like it or not. But I love my hometown. I love the Netherlands. Just as high as the taxes are, I do quite like the people, etc. So yeah, maybe another country, but who knows? I don't want to go far from home, personally. So yeah, it's a difficult situation. Taxes are absolute pain in the ass, but yeah, something we have to deal with, unfortunately. Or you can move, for sure. Is gold forming a market sell in the 4 hours, tapping that weekly Verwijk gap? Would love to. Yeah, I do think that's happening, and then target the weekly Verwijk gap again. So the bullish weekly Verwijk gap as well. Yeah. How old are you? I am 21 years old. I'm almost turning 22 years old. Yes. What do you think about short-term highs, short-term lows, brother? Great. Yeah. Not sure what you want me to say on that, but yeah, I think it's great. Very useful for sure. Please, can you show on charts, sir? Yeah, you need to watch the AUDUSD. I'm trying to, what was your question again? Let me actually go over it. What was your question? Hit the day rate. Oh yeah, no, it's not necessary. If you just follow the AUDUSD guide as well and going over the higher time frame, or go follow the weekly forecast as well. I'm not trying to be rude. Sorry if it sounds rude, but if you go over the weekly forecast right here, how I form, how I get to a buy, etc., you can completely blatantly copy that and then add your own stuff to it as well. But otherwise, I keep on doing the same stuff if it makes sense, and then I'm here for 12 hours. From your experience being a mentor, what would you say traders struggle with the most? Sticking to the same thing. So let me explain to you a losing curve. Whenever, or especially this week was a perfect example. Where this week, especially the beginning of the week, some people struggled. People struggled to trade. What happens when people struggle to trade? They are trying to get to a new trading plan or a new concept that will prevent them from losing that exact same thing. So people struggle with psychology and sticking to the same thing. And they are essentially doing the wrong stuff, but thinking they are doing the right stuff. So they are not aware that they need to stop strategy hopping, but they are strategy hopping because they think that's the solution, whilst it's not the solution. And that is the very dangerous part. If you just stick to the same thing, that is where you will see mastery and where you will make money. That is extremely important. And I can't emphasize on that enough. And I think it's still a lot neglected psychology wise. Because, for example, this week on the dollar, it was not a high probability for my conditions. It was low probability for my conditions personally. So let's say I took 2 losses and I now look for a new trading plan that fits this criteria of this week. I will find a trading plan. Don't get me wrong. I will find a trading plan, but I will now forget the old trading plan. And now we have high probability conditions for my old trading plan again. And I will again be stuck in the cycle where I take losses, etc. So yeah, that's how I view it, right? So psychology, to answer your question, psychology. When hire team for Discord? Man, would have to look into it. It would be fun. Thanks for the great stuff and a lot of time. Which economic calendar do you prefer and why? A Forex Factory personally. I have tried MyFXbook, but MyFXbook, don't get me started on. They are adding their own MyFXbook sentiment news events, and they are adding it as a high impact or medium impact news driver. And it's just a made up thing. Like, come on, go away with that bullshit, right? It's not necessary. So Forex Factory, and I've always loved Forex Factory, and I think it's very accurate to depict on how much volatility will be in the market based on the high impact news that's there. So yeah. The Indian government is like, your profit is our profit, your loss is your loss. That is, yeah. Thankfully, weekend stream makes you feel good after a bad week. Love to hear it, man. You're always welcome, Robin. Always welcome to share anything you want, brother. Always here. If I enter masterclass, so for my first payment will be 475 plus 95. Correct. So first and the rest left for a total of, so next 12-month payment of 95 will cover the full course. Well, it depends on if you want to go to the lifetime. If you want to upgrade to the lifetime, then yeah, you will only need to pay the difference between what you already paid and the lifetime. But if you just continue with paying that, then of course, yeah, you would keep on paying 95. But yeah, no way you're 21. Yes, I am 21 years old. Yeah, it sometimes feels a bit weird, but maybe it's an imposter syndrome. But it sometimes feels a bit weird to be, yeah, I don't know. From my experience, like if I'm telling someone that is older than me with way more life experience than me, telling what they should do in some aspect of life, that feels pretty weird. But again, I have spent a lot of time and a lot of hours into it, so I know what I'm talking about for sure. So yeah, but it is weird. It is weird sometimes. I'm just watching your mitigation block. Do you mind doing a live example, please? Mitigation block, yeah, for sure. This is a mitigation block right there, right off the bat. Boom, voila. Mitigation block. Why is it a mitigation block? Can you see what's happening here? It's this pattern. It's just that pattern. That's all it is. So that low is a mitigation block right there. It's the same as an order block, but there's multiple variety of candles inside of it. That's what makes it a mitigation block. Or you're 21, never thought that we are same age. Hey, love to see it. Love to see it. Yeah, yeah. 21, yeah. I would love if you visit India. Let's keep a meetup and let's do it. All the Indian people, all the Indian traders, love to see it. That would be sick, actually. This man just said 21 years old. We are the same, literally same age. Love it. Let's go, Tori. Let's go. I like the way you think and view life. Love to hear it, Dean. Love to hear it. It's I like to think about life as well. And not that I like my own thinking, but I like to think about life in general. And I think some certain, yeah, like a lot of people, like it always baffles me that people think this life is just, take it for granted, or think it's just something normal. Life, look around you. How weird is all this? It's crazy, right? But we can talk about that for hours. Again, we're talking about trading here, so sorry to annoy you with that, but yeah. We must know, when's your birthday, man? My birthday is, I was born on 11th of September 2001. So that is on 9/11 exactly. At the exact time as well. So whenever there's 9/11 and you see your newspapers full with 9/11 was this much years ago, that is exactly when I was born. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. When is your birthday, Tori? That is also very important. When is your birthday? Do you use MSS? No, I don't use it. And I actually explained it in the... Yeah, I stick to the ST model, exactly like you said in a few... there, yeah. ST model, yeah, for sure, I can share it. So, ST model, essentially what it is we can go with the higher time frame as well. ST model is bearish fair value gap there, and they have a new bearish fair value gap there. And it's a high probability because whenever that happens, there's two bearish fair value gap, and you have retraced into the first one right there. That is where price is confirmed to do one thing. So there is confirmed to go lower. So whenever that happened, with the money making team, etc., we already knew, all right, this might want to head to those lows. Same when this happened right there. And then we had higher prices. So yeah, that's it, summed up. Mitigation block can be disrespected. Yeah, for sure. But in certain circumstances, so when we have this low, for example, based on the fair value gaps, I wouldn't want to see this getting disrespected. Yeah. How do you trade kills if you're not entering on a 1 minute time frame? Yeah, that's a funny thing actually, Andy. You don't necessarily need to trade kill zones if you're not entering on a 1 minute time frame. I think news is more important. News is more important than a kill zone. So if you have news for the day, there's volatility for that day, and that's way more important than just kill zones. If you're trading 15 minute time frame, 5 minute time frame, etc. So yeah. Still living in the Netherlands. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I am. I live in Elst. Oh, love to see it. I'm close to Harderwijk. Harderwijk. Yes, yes, yes. Love to see it. Thank you, bro. Love to fellow Dutch doing great things from Nijmegen. Love to see it. Let's go. Nice, nice, nice. A lot of Dutchies here. Love to see it. Love to see it. Maybe an entire Dutch community in the future. Who knows? Dolfinarium. Exactly, Dolfinarium. Love to see it. It's Kevin can. That's why you always try to overlap. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great answer, Juice. Great answer. Great answer. Since when did you jump into the Forex market? Whoa, you're an OG. I can see it. Actually, what was it? A few months ago, I believe. I was trading ES and then I was trading DAX for a little while. But I noticed, all right, I just feel like I might be limiting myself. So I want to apply a filtering process. And that is when I jumped into Forex as well. But it's not to say that I think one is better than the other. Because I think ES, I love ES still. And I like to trade it a lot. So yeah. But yeah, a few months ago, I believe. Let me see. Bro, no way, my birthday is on 21st of September, 10 days after yours. That's crazy. That's crazy. We are almost twins, bro. That's crazy. That is crazy. Let me see. What's your average RR? My average RR, what I aim for is 2, but on average running RR, it's usually more. So I'm not sure on the exact statistics, but I believe around 4, 5, 3. But I usually aim for 2 and I'm content with 2. I'm happy with 2. So yeah. What do you think about trading CFDs with your methodology? Yeah, perfect. I trade CFDs myself as well. Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfectly doable. I personally don't really like futures, etc. So I trade the CFDs version of the futures. So yeah, that's what I do personally. What do you think about SMC, smart money concepts? I think it's one big gathering of shiny object syndrome traders. Of people that want answers to everything in life. That's what I think. But no, it's great. It's great. And I trade SMC as well. So when I say it's one big gathering of shiny object syndrome traders, I'm talking about myself as well. But yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, it is ICT for sure. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I think SMC, there's a limit. You need to be very careful with the information you are gathering, because I know there's a lot of bullshit out there. A lot of bullshit. And even when you think it's great, it sometimes just isn't. And you need to be very careful with that in the SMC space. So yeah. On that case, I would say support and resistance is better to trade. And don't get me wrong, let me explain it. Just because SMC is sometimes very fucked up in a way that people try to always learn something new. And of course, learning something new is not necessarily bad, but trying to always have a new concept, a new trading plan, etc., trying to achieve that 100% win rate, that is just such a bad thing in the SMC space. And that's what support and resistance is, just like buy, sell, and psychology. So yeah. How much it took you for ICT? What series you gone through? And please, I went through 2022 mentorship, core content, and at the beginning, all the way at the beginning, I went through Market Maker Primer as well. Market Maker Primer series. So yeah. Yeah, I will go through a top-down analysis for sure. Thank you for the video. Appreciate that, bro. Through you, I managed this concept. AMD, love to see it, brother. Love to see it. How much do you risk per trade in challenges? I would, you need to have risk parameters. So below the starting balance, 0.5, everything above 1%. How do you backtest? Means, do you also see news while backtesting? No, not really. It's just forward testing. If your trading plan is for filtering process, for example, it's very hard to backtest. So I love forward testing because there goes so much thought into one single trade that if I'm just clicking like this, it doesn't make sense to me. Like this is not beneficial. It's not beneficial. In forward testing, you will actually learn your patience. You will learn a lot of stuff that are absolutely crucial to learn. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I personally don't backtest. Only hindsight backtesting. So if I gather data on something, I'm hindsight backtesting most of the time. I wait for it to touch the highest FVG or other PDA, any PDA in the trend, any PDA. It can go lower from, as long as there's a fair value gap there. So it can go lower from this order block, that fair value gap, as long as there's a fair value gap. Yeah. How long did it personally take you to master ICT? Well, to master ICT, I would say master ICT and to explain it to other people in a simplified manner, around 3 years, 2 years, something around that. To master the concept that I'm currently using. Yeah. Okay, I hope you're doing well as well. ICT Candle Slayer. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Hope you're doing well. Sort of some SC miss out on some important things though. Yeah. ICT is dad of all. SMC is new boom baby. Yeah, SMC is also often referred to as supply and demand, right? Some people refer to supply and demand as SMC as well, I believe. What do you think about ICT for crypto? I believe it's great, but not as great as futures, indices, and Forex. As a beginner, would you suggest going through A to Z guide before joining Mentorship? 100%. Go through A to Z guide first, and then the mentorship is what I would advise. 100%. Yeah, for sure. You don't need to know everything, but yeah, I would advise. It helps a lot. What do you think about Romeo, the ICT wannabe? You two guys have completely opposite personality. It does seem like that. I don't know, man. It's I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about him, but I also don't have anything great to say about him, if that makes sense. But I just keep on doing him. Not necessarily don't want to hate him or anything, but I think the manner, and that's also just taking a shot at the general, not necessarily at Romeo itself, but the way of talking, the way of being mysterious, the way of talking in riddles, I think it's such bullshit. It's so annoying, actually. It's only what a trading community here has. That's also SMC, where we talk in riddles, in mysteries, in ooh, if you see it, you see it. It's so annoying. Like, come on, just tell what you're seeing, or you just don't understand it, right? But again, that's not taking a shot at Romeo. That's just a shot at the general SMC community overall. That makes sense. I just don't like that. I hate that. And I hate the figuring out an algorithm part. I just hate that people, they get into trading to make money, not to figure out an algorithm, right? That's why we're here. So yeah. But yeah. Every concept originates from ICT. Yeah, true. True, but I believe no, I'm not going to say. Never mind. I just want to ask, how if we put FIB from monthly opening to high-low and targeting third SCD? From monthly, you can do that. But from monthly, just your SCD, you would do something like this and just target. Yeah. Not sure what the question is, actually. I see you're just limited to talk. Oh yeah, break, so flip zone. Yeah, exactly. True. What's up, Sean? I love to see it, Sean. Man, great to see you here, brother. I love your positivity. Thank you for that. Appreciate it a lot. Tilburg, Samba. Let's go. All right. Tilburg. My biggest amount of progress was done once I stopped trying to take in more and more information and just applied to the charts what I already knew. That was a game changer for you. Ari just summed up trading perfectly. My biggest amount of progress was done once I stopped trying to take in more and more information and just applied it to charts what I already knew. That was a game changer for real. That is exactly my thought process as well. Perfect. Why do you think replays is bad? Can't you close your eyes and place the cut a random place in chart and trade from there? What do you mean with the second part? The random line thing? You mean that? Yeah, it sort of sums up SMC as well. But the replay, I believe, replay itself is not necessarily bad. But you will never be as patient as you are in replay, using replay, as you will be in forward testing. What I mean by that is, you always have a reason to skip price. And between one setup and another setup, you will maybe take a loss, but within 2 clicks, you are 2 weeks further and you now have taken another win. So it's a very unrealistic approach to trading, and it's unhealthy because you are becoming impatient and you are building unhealthy habits, which will transfer to live trading. That's the same as in demo trading. If you're saying, oh yeah, let me just put in this trade. I didn't actually come into my entry criteria, but I know it will play out. Let me just put on the trade. That is building unhealthy habits. And you'll say, yeah, but I'll do it on a live account. No, you won't, because you're building unhealthy habits. That habit will exactly transfer to a live account. There's no difference. So yeah. From your experience, are private investors better than funded accounts? Well, you have your drawdown is debatable. So that's why it's different. But funded accounts are fine as well. I wouldn't necessarily say one thing is better than the other. But private investors, you have a better way of scaling potentially, eventually. But again, then we are talking about crazy numbers, like 10 millions, etc. But that's far, far, far in the future. Or maybe not, who knows? Oh, I just opened my MT4. Crazy, all right. Bro, your ATC guide you were making, can a newbie have a small knowledge of ICT, can use for day trading? Yeah, for sure, brother, for sure. For sure. 100%. The dealing range fit is amazing for intraday small time frame targets. What time frame would you recommend for creating dealing range for these smaller targets? What you can do, if you have a range like this, for example, draw your Fibonacci on it and use the PD and target either a swing low or a fair value gap that is in discount of that range. So if you have a dealing range right there, for example, this is a dealing range, right? Then you enter there, you target that swing low, that first swing low or first fair value gap that is in discount, that is in the opposing part. That can be used. That's how I would use it personally. That's great. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. See what, dude? Exactly that. How to watch ICT properly. Have a lot of patience. The way you can watch ICT is don't skip it. Just play it at one speed. I know it's difficult because I know a lot of people play it at 2 times the speed. Don't do that. If you truly want to learn it from ICT himself, play it at 1 time speed, the way it's intended to be, and then take notes from it, etc. It will take a long time. It will take a long time. And the core content, take notes that I did and watching every video at 1 speed. I didn't skip over anything. That took me a long time, but it was worth it. So that's how I would do it. And how to watch it, the series wise, core content is your main juice in a sense. Like that's the most important part. Core content, in my opinion. And then the 2022 mentorship is how you can potentially form a trading plan. So yeah. When will you have interview with ICT? I believe never, my friend. No, I would love to have an interview potentially with ICT, but I am a person that has opposing views. So, for example, if you have an interview with ICT, it's normally like, whoa, I made profit using ICT and everything is great, everything is all right, perfect. But I would have personally, I would love to discuss certain things that ICT is teaching and not to argue or anything, but just discuss it. So I believe never. So yeah. Who's your direct mentor? Well, that was ICT. My mentor was ICT. I don't currently have any director that I'm in close contact to, but the way I learned it was from ICT himself. So in that aspect, I owe him a lot. Well, owe him a lot. I don't necessarily owe him anything, but I'm very grateful for the things he is teaching, for sure. Would you suggest ICT core content? I finished the mentorship, but he long as fuck is a speech. How much is core content effective? Core content is great, but yes, it will take a while. Yeah. And yeah, core content is great though. I believe it's great. It's what led me to understanding everything, I believe. Rewinding, yeah, for sure. Which would be more significant to you, are spread, leverage, or equity? Spread, leverage, or equity? Ooh, leverage is most important to me. And the reason being for that is because if you have the leverage, the spread doesn't really matter if you take it into account, unless it's like crazy pips, but the spread doesn't really matter. The equity, that can be built up over time as long as you stick to the same thing. But if you have great equity and no leverage, then the equity is useless, right? So it's a mix of everything, but I would say leverage is the most important. You are born to be great and you're probably a handsome young man. Prodigy. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate it a lot, man. Thank you for that. And thank you as well, man. I thank you as well. You are also born to be great. Not just me. Everyone here. Do you have supply and demand videos? I actually don't, Marvin. I'm sorry, my friend. But I might open a whole new world to you. And I think you would love it. So you can give it a chance in the A to Z guide. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. All good. We would be friends still, no worries. Good, brother. Love to see it, Sean. Love to see it. Your content is very helpful. I'm waiting for the next content. Always helps you. May God bless you and your family. Likewise, brother. Likewise. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you. What's your best entry model? The ST model. The ST model. And the time frame wise, I would say 15 minutes. 15 minutes is the one I like the most. Yeah. And ST model is it's my bread and butter. If you go through the trade recaps that I actually did on Twitter and on YouTube as well, a few shorts, it's all the ST model. Yeah. It's funny. What kind of hobbies do you have outside of trading? Basketball. I like basketball. I like to go to the gym. But hobbies, I don't know if it's really a hobby. Basketball, you could see as a hobby, but basketball, I grew up with basketball, always play basketball, etc. But hobbies outside of it, do I truly have a hobby? I read books here and there, but is it a hobby? Or is it because I improve from it and I educate myself? I'm not sure. I'm fully in the grind. Do I have hobbies? You just asked my whole life. I'm not sure, my friend. You made me question my own life. No, but I love to connect with friends. The best thing I like is just sitting down with friends and talking for a whole night. Not necessarily going to a club or to a bar where you can't really interact with people. I love interacting with people and just talking about everything in life. I absolutely love that. That's life for me. That is my biggest hobby. If that can be seen as a hobby, that would be my biggest hobby. I have one unlimited leverage. Love to see it. Love it. What do you think about unlimited time on prop firm? Yeah, it's perfect. It is perfect. It is absolutely perfect. And I think there's no reason anymore to go with a time limited prop firm. We are currently at the best stage in our life to make a lot of money from prop firms, using prop firms, etc. So it's perfect. I love it. For ST entry, best RR. Yeah, ST entry, you can get better RR, knowing if you combine the timeframes correctly. Now, for everyone here, since everyone is here, and I know a lot of people will likely not watch till the end of the live stream, an ST entry, what I mean with combining the timeframes correctly. For example, if I have a 4 hour and I go into the 5 minute for my entry pattern, you would go up timeframes, whereas if you use a 15 minute now, you only need an ST and you only need one bearish value gap, exactly like we're seeing there. And that is exactly what I mean with combining time. And that is where you can get crazy RR. But again, the longer you wait, the higher probability it is. So if you enter here, it's higher probability than entering here. So that's also something to keep in mind. There's pick your poison, right? There's risk and reward. Yeah, perfect. Can you make a series every week that shows some backtesting from top down to entry? I will make a top down entry video as well, for sure. I'm facing problem with everything implementing together. Yeah, it's a common theme. In the mentorship, we go over it perfectly. So that's something you like, then I would advise going into the mentorship, because that's exactly how we go over implementing everything and telling you what you need to do with that concept, etc. So yeah. But I will also make a video on that. MJ or LJ? Oof, that is a difficult question. Now the thing is, Michael Jordan is great, and of course, I don't think we can compare the different eras to each other. So Michael Jordan, the era he's in, they just can't be compared to LeBron James, because it's a different area, etc. And the game evolves, etc. Just like they're getting better at dribbling. But if both in their own era, then I still don't know, because LeBron James, it's difficult to make an argument against him nowadays. But I believe MJ is still my favorite, and just because I feel like I might be completely wrong and I don't know them personally, etc. But just by the looks of it, I would say MJ has more of that fighting spirit. A favorite basketball player, that's Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant has always been my favorite basketball player, for sure. Would like to see an Omar and Sam KB discussion. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Would be interesting. Would be interesting. How are you? I've been watching for past weeks. Love to see your content. Thanks for ST mods. I'd love to see it, Malik. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Bro, why sometimes price reverts from just one PD array, but sometimes from combined PD arrays? That's exactly what we go over. Have you watched the Friday A to Z guide episode? That's exactly where we go over in that as well. And I continue to go over it later on as well in coming videos. When price is close to the drawn liquidity, that usually happens. How many videos do we watch in one day of core content? I usually watched 1 to 2 videos a day when I watch the core content, so I think that could be applied to you as well. That's usually what I did. How do you test a specific strategy? Like, do you test order block for a week, then break or mitigation, or do you just try to apply all relevant concepts of the trade? First, I go over, that's the learning stage. So knowing an order block, mitigation block, everything, that's the learning stage. Then once you get to a trading plan, you already know an order block likely works, etc. So then you combine everything and you go forward testing. That's what I do personally. I forward test and first hindsight backtesting. So hindsight backtesting, of course, in hindsight backtesting doesn't mean I'm filtering out all the winners, all right? I also take into account the losses. But then I go over forward testing and I see, all right, can I spot this in real time? That's what I do. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Would you ever collaborate with some prop firm if asked to? I am currently collaborating with Tradu, but that is because that is the only reason I would collaborate with a prop firm is because then my mentorship can get easier access to capital. Not because of my own gain. Well, you could see it as my own gain. If my mentorship is doing great, then I'm doing great as well. But the only reason why I would collaborate with prop firm is to get capital for the community, to get capital for the mentorship. I don't care about affiliate links. I don't care about that kind of money. I don't really care. So yeah. Was that an invention for like a daily RO? Could be, my friend. Could be. An invention for value gap? Yeah, could be. I'm not sure which one. On a Monday, do you analyze the day and decide if it's a good trading trade, or do you only trade if you're watching real-time charting? What I do, Peter, is ahead of the week on Sunday, so today, if there's news tomorrow and I see that the Monday can expand higher or expand lower or sting into a fair value gap, for example, here on gold, we were inside that daily fair value gap right there on a Monday, and Monday had news, then I trade it. There's no question. I trade that day. If that isn't happening, and Monday is, for example, here, Monday right there doesn't have anything interesting. It's not hovering above a discount rate, not hovering above premium rate. So then I don't trade it. Yeah. How long can it take someone that is quite struggling to become profitable with your mentorship? Depends on how much knowledge you have. You can become profitable pretty fast with mentorship. There is certain people that were profitable within the first 2 weeks. But again, they might have way more knowledge currently than you have. So don't compare that. In general, if you have no knowledge, I would argue profitable. You know the concepts within 3 months fully. No questions asked. You know everything. Psychology-wise, I would give you another year potentially to get fully profitable. And that is when you are just starting out. If you already have knowledge, then you can be profitable in 1 month, for example. Yeah. What's up, Thijs? How are you? Can you analyze Bitcoin from high time to low time? Curious how you see it, because I did it myself. Yeah, let's do it. I'll do this is the last thing I'll do today. Well, not today, but for the charts. Right here, it's an absolute mess. From the higher time frame, if we look at this, the monthly CB is our target right there. Weekly is already nice with weekly fair value gap. Daily is a shithole. So right here, analyzing this is actually quite detrimental. And the reason being for that is it's detrimental when you are trying to analyze a market in low probability conditions. So here, it's just a mess. So what I would do is wait for a daily fair value gap higher and then push higher right there. If we go into the low time frame though, then we have 4 hour fair value gaps right there, which we could continue lower off of 1 hour. But this is just one big consolidation. So can you see I can't really get to a clear trend, if that makes sense. Then the 15 minute as well, just one big consolidation. Like, either wait for a clear discount. A clear discount is below those lows, and a clear premium is right there. And even clearer premium is in the monthly CB right there. Hello, Vargas. How are you doing, my friend? How are you doing? What are your views on ICT Mentorship 2023? I haven't watched it personally, but what I mentioned in the beginning as well, I feel like there are a lot of concepts thrown out there, new concepts potentially. Again, they might not be new concepts. They might just be ICT has never mentioned that. But I feel like it's unnecessary and it will keep people inside this endless cycle. And that's why I personally, that's what I've heard as well, that there are a lot of new concepts, etc. That's why a lot of people don't like it. But other than that, I can't judge for myself because I haven't heard about it or haven't watched it myself. So yeah, it's unfair to give my bias on it. In order to be profitable, how much TA and how much psychology is needed in percentage? Well, I emphasize a lot of psychology, But of course, when I emphasize on psychology, I mention that you first need to have technical guidelines, right? Because without a trading plan, of course, psychology is futile. It's not really going to help you, etc. So I would say it's 50-50. But once you have the technicals, it's now 100% psychology. That's all it is. That's the most part. So it's 50-50 at the beginning. You learn the technicals. After that, it's just psychology. It's just psychology. Yeah. If the price didn't reach the opposite liquidity, do you think OTE model is good in higher time frame? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. The Reaper, what did Tori say at the beginning of the live stream? The horizon, fair value gap inverted. Comparison is a thief of joy, 100%. And it's the struggle nowadays when you check social media. Everyone is on their own marathon in life. Ari, you have been smashing it with what you're saying here. I think these would make great tweets as well, actually. And it's very true. It's very true. Comparison is the thief of joy, 100%. And it's especially dangerous when you took a loss, for example, and now you go into the market or you go into social media, you go into social media and you see a lot of people winning. And you're like, I'm an idiot. I need this concept that these people are using. And that's very dangerous. ICT Candle Slayer, ICT Morocco, let's go. Love to see it. Good night, brother. Good night, my friend. Good night. Quan Trang, one shot, one kill. Yes, sir. See it. Mentorship is 1v1 class. How many classes in a week? If you're joining the masterclass, we are having classes every week. We have one Zoom call a week, but usually we live trade as well during the week. And especially in the Discord itself. And then you can always message me private in Discord as well, and we can set up a one-to-one, etc. For sure. From IC, I love y'all, but stop going back for more concepts. You will only confuse yourself. It's hard because it's like a teenager leaving home, but it must be done in order to grow. Ari, I believe I might just read everything Ari is saying here, and then we have the exact same live stream as that we had before. You're exactly picking out my thoughts. You said it perfectly. No better way to say it. Exactly. I'll repeat it. For my ICT people, I love y'all, but stop going back for more concepts. You will only confuse yourself more. It's hard because it's like a teenager leaving home, but it must be done in order to grow. This is so true. Books that you recommend, need to check out a few for my mental. If you want a true book for your mental, check out Reality Trend Surfing by Vadim Zeeland. It's not on trading. It's not on anything trading related, but it's the best book I've ever read for my mental. Reality Trend Surfing by Vadim Zeeland or Tifti the Priestess, I believe. It's also just the books by Vadim Zeeland. Great books. It's Reality Trend Surfing. Let me type it for you. Reality Transfer. Oh, then I need to type it correctly. Transferring, and it's Vadim by Vadim Zeeland. That's what I would advise. I'm actually going to start tweeting now. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. If I see the tweet, I'll make sure to interact with it for sure. Do you personally use Silver Bullet? Can you talk about it with an example video? I'll make a video on it for sure. Market make model. I do use it sometimes. Yeah. Masterclass live session trading. Yeah. He's learning and earning at the same. Whoa. Calm down. You can learn and earn at the same time, but I would always advise don't copy the trades I'm taking. So yeah, you can though, but not financial advice. Nothing is financial advice. Might you type the book title here, please? Let me type it in the chat as well, my friend. Reality Trend Surfing or Tifti the Priestess. Tufti, I'm not sure. By Vadim Zeeland. It's by Vadim Zeeland. Bro, is that book? What are the only videos I need to see on your channel to trade right? A to Z guide videos. That's all you need. Literally. A to Z guide videos for sure. Bro, is that book actually good? I heard Quasi's channel. Quasi's channel. And I'm not sure what Quasi's channel, but the book is great. The book changed my life forever. So it's, in my opinion, it's the best book I've ever read. But again, I'm not that old, so I'm not that old yet. I don't have a lot of life experience, so who am I to say that the book is the greatest ever? But yeah, currently in my lifespan, the book is the best book I've ever read. So yeah, Just arrived from a weekly vacation, bullish continuation, beginning of the week for the DXY. You should dive more into the bullish Vega before moving up. Exactly, ACK. That's why I love you, my friend. Amazing swing trade on USDJPY, a nice H4 bullish liquidity for USD Canadian dollar. Don't know if you already covered it. I covered it, and you exactly just made a recap. Perfect. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. We had a great live stream. Time frame correlation. Yes, for sure. Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for this live stream. We had a great live stream. My brain is a little bit fried. My train of thought is gone. My words are gone. It's time for me to do something else right now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you at the next one. Trade safe this week. Remember what we talked about. And trade safe. Be very careful. And I'll see you at the A to Z guide on Tuesday. All right. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Love y'all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.